Live from SPNatI, it's Saturday night! The Livecast. The 4th annual Strip Poker Night of the Inventory podcast, Live Ask Me Anything. We want to thank you all for coming down. It's me, your regular host, Spnanon, here with my co-host, new co-host from the past year. My main account is a Nord, joining us for his first ever AMA. Namasp was the co-host for the last 3 that we did. We even had Napsu on once while using text-to-speech, which really did not work out with custom emojis. And then as usual for the AMAs, we also have our usual editor, MisterSolitaire, who silently passes judgment after the fact, usually about how we went too long. But Nord, introduce yourself, and then Solitaire.
Hello, I'm the guy that says the things and then also does the things over and over again. I'm going to keep pushing that boulder up the hill till I'm 90, because every time I get it to the top and it rolls back down, it gets a shiny new sticker put on it.
Just like the math.
How's everyone doing tonight? That's me, the boulder pusher. I'm going to keep doing this. Every 100th time you push the boulder to the top of the hill, you get a prestige rank and reset your progress.
Yeah. Live Saturday night. It is a Saturday AMA. It's not night for me, though. It's night for Nord. It's not even night for Solitaire.
It's not even night for me. It's just middle evening.
Well, it'll be night by the end of these. These always go on much longer than any of the standard podcast episodes, which we do our best to cut them down. But this time around, these AMAs, they can go 3-4 hours, and we got a decent crop of questions. Thanks, everyone, for submitting them. It was up and running for a while, the questionnaire. But yeah, we have a lot of interesting stuff to talk about. Solitaire?
Hello, I'm MisterSolitaire. I'm the secret 3rd member of the SPNatI podcast team. I serve as the editor, making the other 2 here sound good.
Oh, yeah. Thank you for that. And what have you worked on for this game?
I made originally Miko, Toyosato Mimi no Miko. I made Saki Nikaido and Reimu Hakurai. Currently, I'm working on remaking my first character, Miko. So look forward to that at some point in the not too distant future.
Is it going to coincide with the 10th SPNatI anniversary? Or sometime before that?
At some point. It's hard for me to give a definitive estimation.
Well, let me tell you, man, as someone who's been there, finally pushing merge on that long-awaited art update, it was worth every moment. And every moment after that. All right, well, I think we should get started. We do have the questions list here in front of us. There are 83 of them, although some we did skip and cut out and combine with others, so it won't be quite that much. But I believe, okay, so the way we're going to do this, regardless of whether we're reading a question or answering a question for the most part, the way it's going to go is I will speak, and then Solitaire will speak, and then Nord will speak. And we'll just kind of cycle through, and everyone will get their chance to speak first, etc. But the first question we got almost a month ago now was, and I'll just answer this because it's just for me specifically. Spnanon, why do you consistently use Dragon Ball profile pictures? Well, okay. Kind of caught with my pants down on this one because at the moment I am Super Saiyan Goku. I've been Goku in various forms since like February of this year. But whoever said this, you must have been around a while because that's really not been the case for quite some time. Like, there was a period like early on where I was using almost all like Dragon Ball stuff, but I had broken away from that for quite a while. So I guess the residuals are just kind of hanging on for me. Yeah, like for the most part, I explained this last AMA actually, but I just choose profile pictures based on like something I've kind of done or watched or seen or read or recently in my general state of mind. As for why Goku right now, I mean, if you're familiar with Dragon Ball, then you should realize that I've been doing a thing, and we'll continue that thing. But yeah, stay tuned. But other than that, like it's usually some character from like a shonen or whatever, with like either a serious or kind of an intimidating look on their face. Because like, I mean, I hate to break it to you, but in real life, I am not Goku. But this isn't real life. This is internet. So why not be Goku?
There was the time that you were that ugly toddler from JoJo Party.
That's how I was feeling at the time. He's Krillin. Fuck you, Hex. I'm Tien.
I think Tien does even less in the story than Krillin does. Krillin at least gets a hot robot wife.
Yeah, but I'm much taller than Krillin. I'm much taller than Krillin, and I have a nose, and I don't have a wife. So, anyway, I think we've successfully answered that question.
Good to move on. So, what good piece of SPNatI advice do you think people often misinterpret or misuse?
Oh, I've got a good answer for this one. It's gimmicks. There was this sort. SPNatI is written in waves of like action and reaction and action and reaction. And one of those is there was a period of time where every single character had an obnoxious gimmick. And so a lot of writing advice became don't give your character gimmicks. But that made people afraid to like indulge in parts of their character that would work really well if you like had it as a little thing in the game. But they were so afraid of it being seen as a gimmick that they avoided it entirely. Not too much of a problem these days, but it's like the real thing we want to avoid is a character doing every single gimmick you can think of just because you can. Whereas like one or two gimmicks can really do service to a character. Like something like with my own characters, Meia having Fizz the Djinn appear. That's a cool little nod to the game, and it's not too obnoxious. Same with Aqua summoning her Keyblade for a turn. Just to show it off and, like, avoid the problem of, oh, she talks a big game, but she never shows off her Keyblade to the other players. Nope, she does. So that's one thing. It's like, don't be afraid to make a gimmick for your character that does service to them.
And one gimmick is better than 6.
Exactly. One well-refined and polished gimmick is better than something different every stage that is a must-target situation.
Yeah.
I believe I'm up next. As someone who's written the writing guide, I scrolled through it to see, what's something that people often misinterpret or misuse. And I have to say, I give very good advice. I'd say the biggest problem is that advice is often ignored. If I had to pick something, I'd say particularly in probably like since the Reddit era, more like 2019 to the present maybe, people have steered away from making their characters too horny, to like sex pervert porn parody type writing, but for accuracy's sake. But they steer, it's an overcorrection. I think they can often steer too hard in that direction, and they just kind of come off feeling sexless and boring, and you don't even really understand what they're doing there or why. There's also AI levels. Again, that's sort of more advice that's just misused or ignored than misused, but people just feel a real compulsion to either they don't realize like how bad AI is, and they just lose really quickly, or they just give their characters like too many, or they start giving their 8-layer characters good AI. Or I think it's just in general, like they think really hard about it, and it's like the game is so random. That's very unlikely. I mean, it's just an average. It's very unlikely in any one game that you're really going to get a sense of like the player's not going to realize what their AI is, more or less. It's not something that's super obvious. And there could be a a stage where they're like, hey, you know, I'm gonna get serious, and then they just get a shit flop or a shit draw on the next hand, and that's it. And it reads completely contrary to what you wanted. Like just make them all average, unless they're low layers. That's all. It really it's stupid.
What I was going to say is what Spnanon already touched on. Obviously, you don't want to make your character a porn parody, but people overcorrect for that and think that means that you shouldn't make them horny or explicitly interested in other characters, but that's really what the game is built around. You do want to make your characters horny, and you do want to make them flirt with the other characters. They shouldn't be too sexless. And I think trying to strike a balance between that, people need to better strike a balance between that. Nord, I believe you've got the next question.
Yep.
Yes. Next question is most liked character from a cartoon. That's a tricky one.
I have to ask, do they mean in SPNatI or just any cartoon?
I assume any cartoon. Is anime a cartoon?
Well, this is accompanied by some later questions that specifically ask in SPNatI in different sources or from different sources, so I gotta know. I suppose I'm first up to answer, in which case, I gotta be honest, I'm a big fucking weeb at this point in my life. I mean, I never really watched that many cartoons in the first place. Not really, I don't think. Like, not. I honestly can't think of any that I watched past like when I was a kid in the early 2000s or whatever. In terms of like favorite, I mean, even a lot of like the really common like Rule 34 like sexualized characters, like you know Raven or Starfire or whatever. Like I didn't really watch Teen Titans as a kid, so there's no connection there. I'm not one of those people jerking off to Sandy Cheeks. Speaking of SpongeBob, I guess a character that like might qualify as like Squidward. Like I'm trying to think of someone that's like their lines have like really burrowed into my brain and are just a part of my inner monologue. In which case, does Mr. Plinkett like count as a cartoon character? Those prequel reviews, all that shit. That's a part of my inner monologue now. It's just like anytime something fuck movie. Fuck everything. Anytime something goes wrong, it's just like, yeah, that's true, George. But the only thing poetic here is that I was vomiting in stanzas. If we are talking about SPNatI, I'd probably go with like Amalia, who it's amazing how well she holds up from being like, or literally being 6 years old. The project, not the character. Or maybe Rainbow Dash. I looked up like who's actually from a cartoon in the character roster. Not a lot, but I'm surprised. I mean, I love Rainbow Dash's fit, tight, slender, perky aesthetic tomboy thing going on with the bending over butt pose. I'd really like to make one for Meia and Jura, but I don't think I can get away with that in terms of characterization.
Just write them wildly out of character.
No,
it's that easy.
Standing straight up, butt spreading is the best I can do. Jura could, no, that's a little too lewd.
For me, I'd probably say, if we're just talking about generic cartoon characters, then probably those old cartoons that I grew up with. Things like Dexter's Lab, Powerpuff Girls, Courage the Cowardly Dog, like those sorts of shows. But if you mean specifically like in SPNatI, and also if we assume that anime doesn't count as a cartoon, then the only ones that really come to mind are like Raven and Starfire. Those are the only real ones that I can really think of.
If we're going for just cartoon characters in general, I'm split between Kim Possible and Dr. Heinz Doofenshmirtz. If we're talking about in SPNatI, I haven't seen that many cartoons that we have representation for, but like, I would also say like Rainbow Dash, Fluttershy, Pinkie Pie, Toph. Threw you off there, didn't I?
Kim Possible is in SPNatI.
She is, but she's quite outdated and offline.
You could put Dr. Doofenshmirtz in SPNatI.
You could, but why would you? He doesn't have time for this. He has a platypus to fight.
Touching
But yeah,
upon
like,
bending over butt spread again. Again, that's what epilogues are for. What I say. Go ahead.
That we
Did you
don't
have
have
anything
that.
else to say?
No, we just sort of have a like graveyard of offline cartoon characters. Maybe more than we have offline anime characters.
That's true. A lot of them are from the early years and are now offline. Like 2017 was like the one year where the source material was or skewed Western because Reddit hates anime, and most of the development was done on Reddit.
We have Taranga Leela offline, and I think she could go hard if you did like credit for its time. The attempt at the front-facing Matt Groening character with one giant eye. Points for effort. I would not really care for Dr. Doof. Well, here's the thing: you make him an April Fool's character. The most you see of him is him in his heart print underwear. And then the fedora wearing platypus shows up and they get into like a cartoon like kerfuffle of violence, the big ball of violence where you just see like punches and kicks being thrown. And that's it. That's the character.
Ready to move on?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that one wasn't specific to SPNatI, but this one is your favorite video game character from SPNatI? Solitaire?
Reimu is from a video game. So is Miko. But if I'm not allowed to choose my own characters, then I would have to say either Monica or Sucrose or Zeke and Pandoria, even though for Sucrose and Zeke and Pandy, I haven't played their original games. I'm just going off of their SPNatI incarnations.
I think questions like this are more fun if we pick characters we ourselves haven't worked on. And I am going to say, like, I haven't played Mother 3. I played a bit of the first Earthbound, and that's about it. But Kumatora, she does things to me, man.
Wait, you mean Mother 1 or Earthbound?
I don't know the difference, is the thing.
The one on the NES.
The one with Ness.
Okay, Earthbound then.
A lot of our video game characters are really good, so I could, like, rattle off a large list, but, like, in terms of sheer, like, someone has a dangerous amount of control over my brain through a character, Kumatora is, like, right at the top.
Kumatora is very good. In fact, she was one that I named as well. I specifically named Rouge and Kumatora among like video games that I've actually played, because there's a lot that I haven't, and I just like the character in SPNatI, but I can't say necessarily how well they were captured. There's really obscure. I mean, like unlike cartoon, like there's a lot of video game characters in SPNatI, so the selection is much broader, and I could spend all day, but that's just kind of getting into characters I like in general, and it becomes less about like adapting them from video games, like Lysithea or Pterandot and Galatea. Nice to see you in chat, Dorian. But among games I've actually played, I like Rouge and Kumatora the best. Kumatora especially is impressive, like because I always say she's one of the examples of like you do not want to adapt it one-to-one with the source material, because the source art is like asexual clay models, and they're like all rectangles. There's very much to work. There's not very much to work with there. And Mother as a series, there's like 3 characters that are fuckable, and only one is like an actual major character, and it's Kumatora. Or like but like she's a nice balance of like the tomboy angle and a little bit of sass in the dialogue and some unique affectations in the way she talks, like a little bit of the slang going on that they took, I guess, from the fan translation. And that's such an appealing adaptation as well. I wish she had some more like really super custom poses. Unfortunately, Corgi is kind of indisposed at the moment, but I hope he comes back and adds more to her. I wish I could have done more with her. And then Rouge, obviously, Phone Box's labor of love. She really got elevated to the next level with that canon look. I mean, the Gijinka is fine as all in all. I understand why you did it at the time, but now that the chains are off, like, come on, man. Like, this is truly groundbreaking. This is taking it to the next level. Yeah, Blue Jays in chat as well.
Shout outs to Hot Spring
right.
Woman.
Yeah. So thanks very much for that Kumatora adaptation. But yeah, Rouge is pretty well done as well. She's flirty and breathy, and she's got good sex appeal. She feels interested in the game in a way that a lot of other characters aren't, because what I was talking about before. So she's very nice to play with. Even, I don't know if she'd personally go around fucking or letting Leon fuck her in the ass, but I guess if I had to choose between, that and being totally asexual, sure.
Pegging. I also want to just very quickly give a shout out to my current favorite, video game testing roster character, Chezo. I want him obliterated.
Chezo, we gay.
We
Yes,
gay. We gay friends. We gay, chat.
All right, ready to move on?
Yeah, I guess that's pretty much it. I feel like I had something else to say about Rouge, but she's she captures a similar appeal. She is the sex appeal character, and that's brought forth very clearly. She feels like someone who would show up and actually play this game. Ulterior motives or otherwise. But go ahead, Solitaire. You can read the next question.
What's the character from SPNatI coming from an anime source that you like the most?
Oh boy, difficult to narrow down. Trying to keep it to shows I've actually seen. Stalking is definitely up there. I enjoy Stalking a lot more than I enjoy Panty. Art is fantastic, writing's good, and from her, it captures her well from her source material, which is where the real appreciation for the character comes from for me. In terms of anime I haven't seen, I'm gonna say I like Yumiko a lot because of how many red flags she gives off, and it's very enjoyable to know, okay, this woman can absolutely ruin my life. Let's see what happens. I haven't watched a lot of new anime recently. We don't really have any hot seasonal anime characters at the moment.
I must confess as well, there are a lot of anime characters I like in SPNatI, but not from a lot of anime that I've actually seen, because the ones with schoolgirls, etc., as main characters, they tend to be either slice of life, cute girls doing cute things, that kind of thing, which is not my wheelhouse. I'm more of a shonen battle type. If you made some more Dragon Ball girls, I'd be all over that. I still like Videl. There's a part of me that still really likes Videl. I mean, for a 2017 character, I think she's still quite good. I can list some, at least. Obviously Lockett's work is very well done. I have seen Kill la Kill, obviously, and Nononju Kuzure is good for all the same reasons Nagatoro is good, really. She's got just a little bit of character in those stripping animations. The dialogue is well developed, and she knows how to wield her sex appeal as a tiny little gremlin. And that's the kind. I haven't seen Nagatoro, but that's pretty much all the same things I could say about Nagatoro. I really like Nami and Robin. I probably would like One Piece, but I just don't feel like committing myself to that. I think Nagisa has really improved, and I would like to watch Clannad at some point, just for something a little different. And because it came out 20 years ago, which means I'm allowed to watch it. I can't watch anything recent. To give you an idea of the kind of retro I go for. I'm currently watching Star Trek, the original series.
Spaceman will be happy to hear that.
Want to help me make Jean-Luc
Oh,
Picard?
I don't like space. What?
Hmm?
What?
No, I said Spaceman will be happy to hear that.
I don't know what Nord said.
Want to help me make Jean-Luc Picard?
That's not the.
That's not the original series.
Oh, I didn't hear the original series. Whoops.
Yeah. Nagisa is very different from something I usually like, but I think she's developed beautifully over the last 2 years or so. I think Arndress has really improved overall as a writer in terms of getting something that feels really unique and satisfying and interesting to read, and not just being like a boring moe blob. I want to give a shout out to Maria too. Maria's crazy, but she does it in a way that I particularly like, and she has massive titties and all that good stuff.
Oh yeah.
Also, there's these characters called Meia and Jura. They're from an anime. Have you heard about them? Has anyone heard about these? They seem pretty cool.
I haven't, no.
Yeah. One extra shout out to Nami and Robin. I kind of skipped over them as well, but I think they also have some of the best sex appeal in the whole game. Metal knows what he's doing when it comes to character interactions and knowing what buttons to push and which way to twist those custom poses. Yeah, Karbol, good point. If you've ever seen Vandred, it's totally just like Star Trek the anime, or it's made by Trekkies. It's very inspired, especially by TNG and Voyager. I think they even kind of ripped off some plot points. So it's absolutely it's no surprise that I would like Star Trek. But I never watched the whole series all the way through. They even they have the same door opening sound effect that I got that.
I thought it was kind of there's a bit of a confusing question, because is it what SPNatI character you like the most from an anime, or do they mean what anime do you like the most that has a character in SPNatI? So I guess, if it is a character from whatever anime you like the most, then it would be one of the Dragon Ball girls, Launcher, Caulifla. Though if it's which anime character, specifically the character you like the most, then obviously Meia and Jura are good, as are Nagatora and Aqua, and pretty much everyone you've already mentioned. I want to give a shout out though to Shamiko though, from Machikaro Mazuko. She's a pretty fun character, very cute, and I always enjoy playing with her, so check her out.
Oh, I completely forgot. A lot of the characters that I put on Meia and Jura's preset tables are from video games, and it's just I think video games are the most represented source material of any, or source medium of anything in SPNatI. But Mitama, I really like her. I really like Aqua from Kingdom Hearts, and Cheryl from Silent Hill 3. I like all three of those as well, and they're on their tables. Shamiko's also very good. I like her. I believe Nora is the next question, right?
Yep. Which sites do you think SPNatI should be promoted more on?
I find promotion in general, social media promotion, to be highly overrated. That could draw a lot of heat on us, especially considering some of the anti-porn crusaders out there and sentiment at the moment. I don't know if we want to get canceled, and I don't know if we want to attract the wrong kind of attention, right? Whoever finds their way to SPNatI should probably be someone who wants to find their way there. So I don't know how much we really need to get out there and promote stuff. I don't even know what you would do. Some anonymous benefactor other than me is making SPNatI threads on 4chan. It's not me anymore. I don't bother because I just don't find any of their opinions valuable anymore. If I ever did, maybe on Reddit itself, try to cross post to other subreddits. Like Final Fantasy Rule 34, like Mech Shield, who made Tifa's rework. He's or he did the writing anyway. Like he's like a mod on Final Fantasy Rule 34, like a subreddit for it. So that actually makes sense to cross promote on. But just like kind of shouting out into the ether, I don't know if you're really gonna get attention or the right kind of attention. Like nobody really cares about the SPNatI Twitter. Sorry, Nord.
Heartbroken. Got it.
It's not like nobody
Trade.
likes porn. They just don't want to be horny on main.
Yeah.
We get plenty of traffic.
I don't really know like what sites people are on these days. I don't really do much social media myself. So I'm going to say Truth Social.
Oh, God. Those posts on Boru sites are actually pretty good in terms of getting people and the right people. People looking up porn of cartoon characters. Like, yeah, they probably like this game.
Oh, yeah. Someone has been uploading a bunch of sprites to Rule 34, I think, one of those websites.
Yeah, stuff like that, like getting fan art for the game or getting sprite sheets uploaded or commissions for the game uploaded. Those do a lot to just give us like a little bit of visibility. As Spnanon mentioned, we already have we have the most traffic this year that we've ever had, even if it doesn't feel like it. We don't want to start paying for advertisements and shit that will get actual attention brought down on our heads. Like currently we're I'm not saying it's guaranteed to happen, but there is always the fear of okay, we advertise in the wrong place and we get a legal team coming after us of hey, why are you advertising these copyrighted characters on a thing that you paid for? And we don't need to explode in terms of player count or dev count, and B, truth be told, I don't know if our server infrastructure would handle doubling our player count all of a sudden. It's true though that Twitter, which site we're eternally dead naming, it's going to the dogs. So I do post on the SPNatI Twitter occasionally just to highlight podcast episodes or fan art, but it is just sort of throwing it out there, not really sure if it's amounting to much.
Could do more on Newgrounds. I think Newgrounds is still good by virtue of no one using it.
Honestly, yeah, sites like Newgrounds are the best to get more visibility for the game.
I mean, putting it on itch.io was also good.
we get a fair bit of comments on the itch.io version. Not all of them good, but it's engagement.
Mm-hmm. All right. How did you come up with your nicknames? Solly?
I actually don't remember because I came up with MisterSolitaire a decade ago as my not safe for work alt. But if I had to guess, I probably just thought it was cool. That's it, really. I don't have an interesting story to tell.
It's not related to SPNatI or anything?
No, I came up with this before I joined SPNatI. I think I used it on some burus and image boards. Nord, what's your main account?
I just came up with my main account as a Nord as a random throwaway when setting up to an adult site. I joined here, didn't know I'd be stuck here for 3 to 4 years. And so it's funny that over time, it has very quickly morphed into people calling me Nord, even though that's contrary to the actual user ID.
What exactly do you mean by being a Nord? Are you of the mighty Vikings?
So I play a lot of Skyrim, and as a Wien, I played a lot of Age of Mythology, and now as a adultman, I play a lot of Age of Mythology Retold. And the Norse are featured heavily in all 3 of those. Although, ironically enough, I tend to play Greece more.
My family's from Greece.
Ah, yes, Namasp has made the NordVPN joke for the 100th time. You're the winner.
We already did that on the podcast. That was a bit in like the on one of the 70s episodes. Anyway, I think everyone at this point, at least everyone in this chat, should know that Spnanon just means strip poker night anon and sounds vaguely like SPNatI. But the reason I actually went with that is because I had a phase. I've gone through like different phases of like usernames that I use for a lot of different stuff. I'm sure some of you can relate over time, but like at that point, it was mostly on like 4chan compared to like any other site. So I wanted to. I liked having that anonymity. So I kind of went through that a phase of like making a lot of my usernames on different sites, some variation of like anon or including anon in there somewhere. And this was one example of that. I'm kind of out of that phase at this point. Again, I don't like 4chan very much. I think it's only gotten, I mean, it wasn't good when I got there and it's only gotten worse. So if you've seen me on Steam, if you like played TF2 with me, you notice that my username on there is Nirvana right now. And I'm thinking of like other things it might be, you know, what can my brand be going forward? If I want to like make art or something like that. I don't know. I don't want to go with Spnanon. It's kind of weird to spell and hard to say. I'll think about it.
Favorite sexy outfit?
Lab coat and PPE. Next question, please.
Naked lab coat?
Yeah, sure, as long as it doesn't cause contamination, the samples.
Did you say PPE?
Is that the
Like-
right thing? If so, yeah.
Like gloves and...
Yeah. Personal
A
protective
mask.
equipment.
Well, I would think of like a hard hat or something when you say that, but yeah. Are you into construction workers?
Could be.
Female ones?
Could be.
My favorite sexy outfit is none. Quite literally. Like on any level, like I just do not enjoy like any kind of like sexy outfit. Like it annoys me when like characters like, oh, I'm gonna leave on my stockings to be sexier, or like in a movie or some shit. It's like, oh, I bought some sexy lingerie for you, bitch. Take that shit off. You know what really turns me on? Completely naked. Literally, just completely. I don't want to see like a ribbon. I don't want to see an earring or a hair tie or none of that shit. Or socks or stockings, nothing. Completely butt ass naked. I'm a big fan. That actually legit like turns me on a lot compared to like if it's just like half off or she's like still got on a bra or something. There's a reason I like this game so much, you know. Is because you actually achieve that, and a lot of like Rule 34 does not. Especially sucks because like I tend to like characters that kind of have skimpy outfits, and when a character has a skimpy outfit, they're less likely to be drawn taking it off, like completely. Think of like Mai Shiranui or something. You just have like panties pulled aside or whatever. No, they gotta go. So yeah, you get a lot of stuff with like Meia, but like her suit is still on. They just like tore a hole in it, and it's like if that's what I wanted, I could just look at her normally. I want to see her naked.
An outfit I really like that I think is super, super underrated is, and forgive me if I pronounce this wrong, peplos, which is the dresses worn by ancient Greek goddesses. And that one I really like because it's very classy and dignified, but they could be wearing no underwear, probably are wearing no underwear, so you can see them upskirt and maybe you might be able to see some side boob or cleavage.
Is that like what Politina wears?
I think so, yeah, something like that, though maybe a bit. See if I can get a good. Here's one of Monica wearing the outfit.
I see it, yeah. I'm liking the side boob.
Interesting.
Anyway, all I'm saying is that she would look better if she took it completely off. Get rid of those sandals, too. Nope, glasses gotta go.
It's the anticipation that makes it hotter. If she's already naked, there's nothing to anticipate.
I've never felt that way in my whole life. I want her like the day she was born. Don't take that too literally.
Favorite color combination?
Well, I gotta go with tell me if you're surprised. Probably like blue and silver. Blue and white, anything like that. I think that's a really pleasing combination. It's like kind of cool colors and bright, but not overwhelming. Especially if it's like in an outfit or a character design. It's less intense than like pure white. Green and black is also pretty neat. Yeah, it's mostly just Meia's color scheme, but also like techno stuff. Yeah, the Matrix. I think that's pretty appealing. Green and purple. Thanks, Doc.
For me, I would say my favorite color combination is purple and gold. That's also the color combination for Miko.
Of royalty.
But it's also the color of the Los Angeles Lakers, which is a team I hate. So I've got a complicated relationship with it.
What are you, a Warriors fan?
Yeah.
My favorite is probably blue and orange. Appears quite a lot, especially in Portal. I don't think of that many other color combinations that I like. Red and blue are always nice. Common enough color scheme almost everywhere.
I mean, speaking of black and green, Jura's color scheme is pretty nice too. Black and yellow. All right, next question. If you weren't utterly obsessed with your most known waifus, who would you be drooling over?
I guess a couple that come to mind for me, one would be Kikuri Hiroi from Bocchi the Rock. She's drunk bassist of Sick Hack, which is another group that they're sort of like the older, more established group, kind of serve as mentors to the main cast, even though Kikuri is an alcoholic and completely unreliable. Another one I can think of that I don't think many people know I'm interested in would be Setsuna Yuki from Love Live Nijigasaki. She's sort of like living a dual life. She goes around school being the sort of quiet, glasses-wearing student council president, but she's also secretly a school idol she's like the hot-blooded, anime-loving school idol. So just sort of a fun dichotomy there. That's about it.
There's a timeline out there where I would have fawned over Jenna instead of Meia, Golden Sun, and made Jenna first. I would have had to find someone else to make Meia. There's a timeline out there where I would have made Melia from Xenoblade, because I like her a lot. This is a very difficult question for me to answer because I obviously cast my net very wide and I'm not very subtle about the characters I do like. There's also a lot of cases where if I wasn't I'm sort of 60-40 in terms of attraction to women versus men. So if you flipped those numbers around, there's easily a lot of men I could be drooling over right this second. I don't really know how else to answer it, just because I have a lot of. Yeah, I have a lot of them, and I've made most of them, or I've already made known most of them.
No answer I would give here would be equivalent to Meia. There isn't any other kind of like super obscure niche character out there that I feel the need to like be a champion for. A lot of the stuff I've seen and played is actually like kind of like basic bitch material, because I tend to be drawn to stuff that's like super influential. It's like, oh, you have to have seen this, or it was really big in the history of the medium. So like, stuff that's exposed, stuff that's got a lot out there. I'd say like if anyone had to fill the void, it would probably be like a girl from Dragon Ball. To be honest, I'm not sure which one exactly. It feels like a three-way tie. I like very different things about like Videl and Android 18 and Bulma. I like them for different reasons, even if some of them don't necessarily seem my type. But we'll get to our real life types in a moment. You know what I also like? I like Princess Peach. I'm gonna throw that out there. I mean, if you play enough games and you just save her over and over, you get attached. I kind of do want to carry her in my arms. She's just a cutie. She's a sweetie. I like Zelda too. Oh, and I really feel like I was really disappointed when reading JoJo Stone Ocean, because I do like Jolene, and I didn't hate it or anything, but I just feel like there's definitely a timeline where like I made Jolene for SPNatI, and because I like what she's got going on, and I feel like if she just had a little bit more out there, or if there was just a little bit more to her in terms of like character writing, I think she could be really something special for me. Not quite enough to chew on for my tastes, but I like her. Yeah, any of those would be good candidates, I'd say. Solitaire?
Best Rocky film.
Well, clearly, it's got to be Rocky 7, Adrian's Revenge.
Rocky 7 is Creed.
Are you telling me that the Simpsons joke I just quoted was from a time when there wasn't a Rocky 7, and now there is a Rocky 7?
I didn't know that that was a Simpsons quote. Have you seen the Rocky movies?
Half of my lingual is Simpsons quotes. I've never seen a Rocky film.
No. Which one would you like?
The first one. The first one is always better.
Well, that is true. It's probably more directed at us too. I imagine as Americans, we've seen the Rocky movies. They're pretty American in identity. Solitaire, have you seen?
I've only seen the first one, so by default, that is my answer.
As a man with Italian family not from Philadelphia, but from nearby. I mean, I definitely like the Rocky movies. I've seen the first 4, and then everyone says Rocky 5 is bad, so I didn't watch that. And everyone said Rocky 6 was kind of mid, so I didn't watch that. And then I watched Creed, and Creed was pretty good. But I mean, yeah, obviously the answer's got to be the first one. It's got the most genuine heart to it. Because you can just like see how much his life sucks and what the opportunity means to him, and it's obviously got the most realistic. Ironically, it's sort of like a fairy tale story in a way, like something you'd see out of the 30s. But it's very realistic in terms of like, no, he doesn't win at the end, but that doesn't matter. Like, he doesn't even care that he's not even listening to the decision at the end, because what matters more is about just overcoming what you thought you were capable of and being the best version of yourself, and going the distance. And the other characters as well, like they're all like Mickey and Adrian, and they're all just kind of like down in the dumps, and like their lives suck just as much, and they all take advantage of this opportunity in the best way possible. And they sort of have to stop rejecting each other and come together, and that's really nice. I mean, even Apollo, he's not just like a total like ridiculous villain. Like there's Like I mean, he's given some more depth in the later movies as well, but he's not just like a complete cartoon character or anything. So yeah, I mean, obviously it's got the most heart. I think the first three in particular make a very nice trilogy in terms of like coming from nothing and then like being a contender and winning the championship and then defending your title.
Who is on your SPNatI dream team for a potential character rework?
Well, it'd be nice if they said which character. What the answer would be me. Me. I work alone. Superman works alone. I think there has always been great value in working alone, and in terms of like not needing to wait for anybody, not needing to like get like creative differences aside or work through them, and in terms of like just like learning everything there is to know about the game, understanding how hard it is to like change a pose or to make a model or have it match exactly how you want the line to be, and the character writing, and just feeling free to change that. And not having to worry if they just like have an episode and leave the server and now you can't get in contact with them. I mean, there are some other good candidates that I would like. I don't know if we'll talk about this a bit later in terms of like who would you want inheriting your characters. That's kind of a different issue. But yeah, I would just like to work with myself, to be honest. That is a bit rich considering that like Hologic actually helped with Meia and Jura's new like faces and eyes, but I didn't ask for that. He just volunteered to do that. He did do a very good job. Probably better than I would have done. So I got to thank him for that. But I'll talk a little bit more about some other contributors I like in a later question.
I said me, myself, and I, we working Miko.
Can you get along with them, do you think?
Yeah, they're my favorite devs.
I would love to see... I can't remember if she's the original character or is just... I know one of the first four, Zoe from Left 4 Dead. I would love to see her have like art done by Blue Jay, and then just one of our writers that's really good at doing well with that sort of like happy-go-lucky but has a lot of like repressed trauma type writing. I'm not sure who I should single out for that. Maybe Namasp. Maybe Alias. I just don't know if anyone else really would like love to write Zoe. But I think a Zoe rework for like 2024, 2025 would be like well received. And Blue Jay in particular I would like seal as like the artist, because like she's done an incredible job translating that sort of realistic or semi-realistic look into an anime style, like with Steve and Cheryl.
Karbol asked in chat, so you'll rework Videl on your own? No, I'm not going to rework Videl. Not anytime soon, anyway. I mean, yeah, I definitely want to give it a shot on my own if I did do that. At the same time, like if someone else wants to do it and help out, like I'm not going to reject help, especially if I feel like they do a good job. It's just I just don't have any intentions. Dream team for updating Videl. Well, it'd be me, assuming infinite time in the universe. And infinite motivation.
Okay, Lara Croft was character 1, Zoe was character number 2.
You don't know me. Maybe I'll make Boma or Android 18. I like them. Maybe. All right, next question. Let's see. What's the best piece of SPNatI criticism that you've ever gotten?
So I've gotten terrific advice from listening to the SPNatI podcast. Did you know we have a SPNatI podcast?
Did you know that there's at least 98 episodes?
Maybe more to come. There is there's some neat tech that was highlighted on the cast from various other characters that I ended up stealing for Miko and Tojiko, like some art and design ideas that other characters had that I just went ahead and stole. And you'll see that at some point. But there's also, in terms of writing, some of the really good writing advice that they've had on the podcast that I've used, even though I'm great at writing, is I think the number one is what Spnanon likes to say is in your dialogue, the most important thing is that you have an opinion, or your character has an opinion. That's the most basic way, I think, to make dialogue interesting. And I really think it's like the difference between a well-written character and a poorly written one. You can tell it's the best written characters are sharing their opinions on stuff. They're adding to what's going on in the game, whereas the characters that aren't so well written, they often are simply reacting to what's going on, but aren't really adding anything to it themselves. So I think having an opinion is, and a character that has an opinion is going to be stronger overall. And that's an easy way to do it.
That was a very good point you just made. This is going to be a bit strange as an answer to this question, but I think the best SPNatI criticism I've gotten wasn't even that bad, but it really helped put me in my place when I was massively overthinking, overworking, and over anxious about my work in SPNatI, worried about is this good enough? Have I lost my touch? And that was, I don't even remember who said it or if it was anonymous or whatever, but someone basically said, Aqua's alright, doesn't stand out very much. And that, broke me down for a day, and then I had to build myself back up thinking, why am I getting so upset with this? They literally said she's just alright.
Which one?
I need to stop being Kingdom Hearts, the one I was actually writing. Now, the issue with Aqua Konosuba's art is a whole other matter, but with Aqua Kingdom Hearts, I had to get out of my non-existent ENS about you're not going to write the greatest character ever written every single time, and there's always room for improvement.
You don't have an anus?
No.
That's too bad.
Did you not know that? Yeah, no one asked about his stoma bag, despite being.
Nobody asked me. I told you, no question too personal.
If you didn't know that, he literally does not have an ass. They took his ass. He can't ship.
I have a butt, but I don't have an ass. But yeah, call my characters mid more often. It motivates me. They're not
mid, though. They're good. Most of the biggest problems I've had with my characters are, the massive sweeping characterization and premise changes that I've made. Admittedly, they didn't come from others' criticism. They were self-created and they were self-fixed. And I mean, part of that's just because the nature of who I'm working on. In the end, I'm the one putting the most time into this. I'm the one who cares the most. That's not to say I don't value the input of other devs and other players. It's just naturally what's going to happen. I will specifically mention the feedback of 2 people, just random people on the feedback poll, possibly 3 people. So there was one guy, Thong Guy. I don't know if he knows exactly the power he's wielded or what exactly he's managed to, or the changes that he's managed to affect. But he literally, that guy, it's just a guy from last feedback poll or general feedback poll who said hey, I really have a fetish for thongs. I wish more characters had thongs. And he said he really liked Jura because of her skimpy black thong. And I'm just you know what? Yeah, Meia should have a thong instead. Why does she have dumbass boy shorts? So I literally changed Meia's underwear just for that. Whole new color scheme, whole new custom exercise thong. And I want to do more with that. So yeah, he's out there. I'm not sure if he even knows. And then also want to highlight what's probably 2 guys. There was one guy on a 2021 or 2 feedback poll for Meia, who said, "Love this girl. Nice to see some ass." I was like, that makes it all worth it right there. This was with her old model too. She didn't even really show that much ass back then. But it was just like, yes, this is the thing I need to be. She needs to be the butt character, especially next to Nami, who's mostly tits. It's like, this is what I really need to turn up to 11. I just need to make a million butt poses with the new model. So that's exactly what I did. Of course, that's validating. There's also a guy who, again, made the last 6-7 years of my life worth it on this most recent feedback poll, because he all he wrote was lots of ass equals good character. I'm like, I agree. Use a little to say a lot. It's right here. It's the best criticism I've ever gotten.
Have you seen Dune Part 2?
No.
Is that it?
That's it.
No, and I haven't seen Dune Part 1 either, nor have I seen Dune, the David Lynch movie from the 80s. I would like to see them. They do look like movies I would enjoy. The books seem a little too freaky, personally. That's usually how it goes with the books. The films have to cut books down to like only the stuff that's more palatable. I would like to see them at some point, but I have not seen them. I will say, I often joke when people talk about Dune. I've played the porn flash game behind the Dune, if you've ever seen that. It's on various like flash sites and stuff. It's actually like legit pretty good. And the only reason I really bring this up is because it's hilarious. Like, as Dune has entered more into like the cultural zeitgeist and people talk about the plot points and stuff and the characters, me having that fucking porno flash game be my only frame of reference, I legitimately can pretty much follow along with what they're talking about in terms of the plot. And I'm just like, man, I think I got the full experience on top of some weird fetishy shit. If you're up for that. It was made by like a French guy, so there is some weird stuff going on in that game. There's you like fuck a prostitute first thing, and then like you fuck a girl's armpit, you fuck your mom. You have like a baby sister that rapidly ages into like a 12-year-old, and she starts like hitting on you. You don't fuck her, but she does want it. You pee in a girl's mouth at one point because you're mixing waters with the Freeman. Yeah. So it's fucking weird. But I legit got like most of the plot just from that flash game. Behind the Dune, it's called.
If it's not starring Kyle MacLachlan, I don't care. That's my answer.
You warp back to when you first devved for the game. What would you do different? Would you make all of the same characters and choices?
Probably. I said this before in a lot of different ways, but like, in terms of like, Meia and Jura, there are no characters really that I feel as strongly about. Like, I got to get out there and like really put the best version of themselves out there. Cause like, I could make like a Bulma or an Android 18 or something, but they don't need me the same way Meia and Vandret's kind of been revived a bit by that. And also there's a lot more out there to kind of drown it out. I definitely put in more effort earlier on. I had a bad habit of like making excuses for like what I was actually capable of, and not challenging myself the way I should have, Kisuke and otherwise. And definitely go back and watch the source material before you start writing. That'll save a lot of mistakes. There was a period of time where I thought like maybe Jura was a mistake, but I think overall now, especially as I've given her more of her own unique identity, she's become overall a positive. I think it also makes sense for them both to be there in terms of just like showing or showcasing what the series is like in general, because they would work as a team. They are very focused on the crew. They work together. They go places together. So having like the three of them plus like Puro all there like on a mission, that makes a lot of sense in terms of premise compared to like Meia being there by herself. So I probably would do that. Maybe not Ryuko. I'm not sure I'd care about her. That was just kind of like a fling in the end. Maybe not even Revi. I don't know. I mean, I think it was fun, but I never felt like super attached to her character or anything because I mean, Black Lagoon's not even finished as a source material. She doesn't even have like a full arc. You just can't do enough with her. Maybe I would have adopted Videl back then. It feels weird to do it now, like 6, 7 years after the fact. But if it was like 2018, it would have made a lot of sense to like catch her up with the times, and that probably would have fulfilled my Dragon Ball quota. So that, or maybe another character from Dragon Ball or something. Like I had plans to make Bulma way back in the day, but they didn't really take off ever. It's funnily enough, there's Black Cthulhu in 2018 made a couple of characters that if he hadn't, I might have considered later on, like Misato and eventually Jolene. At the time, I didn't know anything about JoJo, but now maybe I would have made her. I like her a lot. Yeah, make fewer excuses. Always challenge yourself. Go ahead, Solly.
I would absolutely make Miko, of course, but I would, of course, do all the changes that I now have to do as part of her rework. Make it so that Tojiko is present in all stages instead of just coming in after the first stage, since that just makes it a pain to have her interact with other people. And also do like various versions of the stripping poses, like positive and negative versions of the stripping poses, so she's not so negative all the time when stripping. That's mostly the main things. And then Saki is fun enough to write. I don't really regret making her, even though I don't really think she needs so much to be constantly updated. I think she's, fine enough as she is, that I don't really consider her a priority, but I don't regret making her at all. She's very fun to write. And then, of course, Reimu is someone I always intended to make eventually once I had more experience under my belt. And I wouldn't really change much about Reimu, because I think by that point I had gotten pretty comfortable with deving and confident in how to do it the best.
You did kind of change Reimu early on.
Yeah, well, that's more because I didn't get her voice quite right. I think that's kind of a pretty common thing, I think, with a lot of devs, where it's hard to, you have to write a lot to get the voice right. But then, once you're in a groove with the voice and you like the voice you've developed, then it's sort of like you look back on your earlier work and you're like, this isn't quite right. I think you did the same thing with Meia.
Oh, I've gone through at least like a different Meia every year until recently. Nord?
I think, armed with the knowledge I have now, I would probably go back and would make the same characters again. Probably in the same order, maybe a bit shuffled around. It's like, if I had my current level of skill now that I did like 3 years ago, I could make my own model of Leone, and that means like I would be able to go all in with a better perception of who she is as a character and what makes a good character in writing. Because Leone at the moment is sort of a patchwork job of like a couple of fixes I've done to try and round out her personality so that she's not a totally, perpetually annoyed buzzkill. But in general, I would probably just do the art of some of my characters a bit better. I would definitely find a different way of doing Dunban's arm sprite. Like, try to make the pipeline more efficient, or just make it custom assets that are easier to pose. The biggest change is... Okay, the two biggest changes are I would make Magma Grunt legitimately from the outset, instead of an April Fool's character first, because that was just testing the waters. And then I probably wouldn't make Gloria again.
No?
I sort of, I
Or
like
like
what I've
racist?
done with Gloria, but what? Sorry,
Is it like racist?
what? No,
Gloria?
no. It's just the fact that like I sort of have regret about I'm happy with how Gloria's turned out and what I've done with her. But I would probably do things a bit. If I had to still make her in this new timeline, I would do her art differently. Like, I'd probably give her a medium chest instead. Probably really try to nail down a specific Scottish accent instead of being all over the place with it. She's the character, like, Leone and Gloria are the characters I have the most mixed feelings on. Oh yeah, and this time I wouldn't write a line at 3 a.m. of Leone asking Wikipedia about child soldiers for some godforsaken reason. I wouldn't have given her the piercing because that was a sponsorship requirement, so I'd be hit with the same sponsorship requirement again.
You definitely have the most choices to make overall. Is that all of them?
Okay, this is a bit catty, but like there are all of the projects that my name is attached to that have failed did not fail because of me. And so I probably wouldn't attach my name to them in the new timeline. So, yeah.
Okay. Next question. I already gave you a year to read about this. What's your love language?
I didn't read shit this past year.
You know how to read?
Yes.
Nerd.
I mean, 2 out of 3 of us are the same, so we're probably going to give the same answer. But
I don't know. Welsh?
nor do you know what love languages are?
Vaguely. My answer remains Welsh.
Your answer is what?
Welsh.
What?
This joke isn't landing as well as I thought it would. No, love languages for me are just like...
I expected at least
Sure.
one of you to give a real answer to the question.
Fine. The real answer is just like shows of affection and positive affirmations there.
I answered last year. Still physical touch. I don't like people very much. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, hanging out with all of you, like in this 4 or 5 hour stretch, like that's fine. It's not that I hate being with people. I just I don't want it to be my default state of things. So long-term company feels kind of suffocating. And when you're like that, physical touch is the only thing you kind of go a while without. So yeah, I'm down to fuck, and so is Meia. Shame about the whole touch thing, though. Solly, you're up to read the question. Speaking of languages.
Language you'd like to speak the most aside from Japanese?
I do wish I could have stuck with my Duolingo to learn Italian fully, but after like 2 years on Duolingo, I only knew like basic words and phrases, and like I just couldn't stick with it.
Is the answer still Italian, though?
Yes, yeah.
Ore no Nihongo wa dokugaku da. As for not Japanese, I'd probably just have to go with Spanish. It's the most useful, especially as an American. Like, I don't know. I don't have any like family that I'd like to talk to that is non-English speaking or anything like that. So if you're not being a weeb, what else is there to really throw your hat into? Not Italian? Like, what am I supposed to do with Italian? No, my Italian family came over in like the 1850s. Like, they don't speak it anymore. You can learn Chinese. Why would I want to learn the language of flying out rubber dog shit from Hong Kong? So I can play Genshin Impact? No thanks.
I would say Spanish as well, since that would be the most useful in my day-to-day life. Nothing else, really.
Thoughts on AI written SPNatI characters?
Well, there aren't any, for one thing. And if they were, I imagine they'd be pretty shit. Like, why not an AI created sprites as well? I think the most insulting thing about the recent AI craze is that it gets people, it gets like stupid people assuming that like things that were made with genuine passion and effort by humans are AI made or like made by a computer. You see like people like on like TAS speedruns, like they just put it in a computer and it plays the game for them because they think like a computer can do that. Like just a completely unfamiliar video game and it just plays it. But from what I've seen on AI writing at the moment, it seems to be roughly the level of like a stupid high schooler who knows how to put sentences together but doesn't know how to actually say any kind of original thought, and just like has like stock phrases that they throw out there to make it sound like a real sentence. I'm going to take this time to also opine on AI in general. I would say that unfortunately AI slop seems to be the logical conclusion of the way like culture is going in general, in terms of like Philistine's shallow consumption of art. The ever turning like Patreon money content machine. Like if that's all people want more is just shoveling more and more shit out there, then yeah, having a computer spit out the same like cookie cutter bullshit that's completely insipid and unchallenging is basically what a lot of like Hollywood blockbusters are and shit in the first place. It's just the same old tired tropes and genres. So why wouldn't they accept something that was just made by a computer? That's what the average person gets out of art in the first place. It's not surprising.
Yeah, an AI-written SPNatI character would not be good. And we've already pretty much hit the high watermark of what the current AI, what would you call it? Like the current AI algorithm or whatever is able to produce. So AI wasn't really going to get any better. So it's as good as it's going to get. And what it is isn't very good. So I do not have high regards for the idea of an AI-written SPNatI character.
Namas Pierce just made the great comment of, that said, it's fucking infuriating that rather than resolve inane bullshit, art was the big focus, for fuck's sake. Yeah, AI is supposed to come along and replace our manual labor jobs so that we can focus on artistic passion, not steal the artistic passion so that we can do more manual labor. As someone who has dabbled in the different forms of neural networking artificial intelligence just as a hobby when it was the fresh new thing, I go between cycles of being ambivalent to it and being sick of it. I'm not gonna make any bold claims of art made by an AI has no soul or anything, because that gets quite nebulous very quickly. But in general, AI, in this specific context, we're talking about neural networks and basically the computers being able to recognize patterns in writing and write something that seems coherent, because that's all it's doing. It's just weighing the probability for what is the most likely thing to follow in an answer when someone asks me this question. And so for one thing, if you ask an AI what a SPNatI character is, it won't know. If you ask it to output a lot of dialogue for, so-and-so character, it's not going to know who so-and-so character is. It doesn't have that kind of context. It's just going to put out whatever you tell it of oh, this character's very, peppy and upbeat and they're from a series where they fight in giant robots or whatever. The AI is just going to put out random bullshit that vaguely fits that theme, and then the kind of person who would make an AI-written character for SPNatI isn't going to double-check their writing. And this is the level of AI slop that pollutes the internet, is these people who are basically don't have a creative brain cell in them are just pumping out the first thing the AI does and being look at me, I created something. No, you didn't. The AI barely created either. It literally just made to fill in a pattern. Robots we had 20, 30 years ago that were being trained to color inside the lines with a crayon and paper in 3D space. So I fully anticipate that in the next couple of years, we're going to get someone submitting an AI-written character, and it's going to be obvious as fuck because the writing is going to be so dull, so randomly and arbitrarily out of character, and barely proofread at all. That's like literally. AI has its uses in like neural networking and intelligence like this. But it does not have a place here, and the people that would try to like cheat writing a character that way, you'll be able to spot them coming a mile away.
I mean, we did already have Mara Jade, or as Namas put, Anili in chat. I'm not one of those people that says like AI will like never overtake humans. You know, like the technology is never going to get worse, but it's just like, what's the fucking point? Like, I mean, yeah, if your only engagement with art is just shoveling more shit into your mouth until the end of time, then yeah, I guess it makes sense. But like, the value of art is that you made something from your own experience. It's like the act of creating it is what's important. Have you ever tried? It's very satisfying.
Are we going to make a rule against AI characters?
And like, is there not enough shit out there for you to enjoy? Go ahead.
Are we going to make a rule against AI characters? We'll cross that bridge when we get to it, much like we had to cross when Anili showed up.
Oh god.
How are we going to prove it? Good question. I argue it's going to be obvious because the kind of person that, does that will make it very obvious very quickly that they're doing AI writing.
Anyway, next question. Favorite Final Fantasy? Even just from what you've seen, if you haven't played any.
I'd say my favorite Final Fantasy is 7, the one with Tifa and Cloud and Aerith and Sephiroth. It's fun. There's a lot to do there. It's a fun story. Full disclosure, I haven't played the majority of mainline Final Fantasy games. So there's not a big competition there, but I like 7. Go check it out if you haven't. It still holds up pretty well today. And you can get mod packs to make it look nicer if you can't stand those old, super polygonal PS1 type graphics.
I have never played a proper Final Fantasy game, but I saw it played through a Final Fantasy X. Even as a teenager, I was able to get the actual subtext of the infamous laughing scene. I am very clever. But my answer would just have to be Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep, because that's the closest thing to a Final Fantasy game I've played.
You've played Kingdom Hearts and Xenoblade and shit and never a Final Fantasy. That's like starting with differential calculus before you do like arithmetic. I have played Final Fantasy 1, the NES version, and Dawn of Souls. I've played the 3 on the Super Nintendo. Because I'm especially a fucking boomer when it comes to video games, and I mostly like them 2D and all this shit. So I played 4, 5, and 6 as well, and I've also played the Game Boy Advance versions of those, the ports. I'd say 5 for gameplay reasons. Is the most fun. That's the one with the extensive job system, extensive for a Super Nintendo game. I'm sure the later ones. I'm familiar with a lot of the later ones, but I haven't played them. I'm sure a lot of the later ones, like 10-2 or whatever, do more with the job system. But yeah, I mean that's fun for all the creativity and the open-endedness of the combat and how everything is pretty viable. So you can kind of do whatever. There's whole challenges over like all using the same job or whatever. 6 has the best vibes in general, especially like the World of Ruin half, just how like dismal and dour it is, and the theme of like really, I mean the heroes failing so badly and then having to like still like put the pieces back together and rebuild all of their lives and still make something out of it is encouraging in a lot of ways. And obviously it's the biggest and most expansive of those Super Nintendo titles. I definitely want to try 7. I'm ashamed as a gamer. I have to turn in my gamer card that I've never played Final Fantasy 7. But I definitely want to give it a try. Unfortunately, it's not going to be before we have to talk about Tifa on the podcast. But maybe in the future, sometime soon.
Burger King or McDonald's?
Burger King has better fries. McDonald's has the chicken nuggets. What if you combined the two?
That's insanity. How could you consider such a thing?
It's necessary, damn it!
For crossing the streams. Could you do that for like, kind of like wine testers, like fast food YouTubers? Like you give them like a Happy Meal and it's got like Burger King fries. The funny thing is, like I liked a lot of like chicken and French fried meals like when I was a little kid. But past being a little kid, like I never ate at any of those places, so I can't really comment on like the burgers or whatever. I think I remember preferring McDonald's fries at the time. Burger King did, I think, have the better chicken nuggets in that case, but like, or at least I thought. McDonald's was like a little too like rubbery and plasticky, I felt. But then eventually McDonald's got like those like full breaded like chicken strips that are more like real chicken. And I enjoyed those quite a bit, so I'd have to give it to McDonald's overall. Again, no comment on the burgers.
Yeah, I'm not really into Burger King or McDonald's personally. I view this question as a false dichotomy. So my answer would be In-N-Out Burger. Next question, Nord.
Okay. Thoughts on the practice of making characters just for possible interactions or because it'd be funny to have them, rather than making them for the creator's own attraction to the character?
You're not here to be funny. This is literally explicitly advised against in the writing guide, and in the farts method and all that shit. Like, we are here to jerk off. We're here to masturbate. Yes, it's nice to have funny interactions, but if you're not into this character sexually, don't do it. Like possible interactions, like you're not writing a fan fiction. Like at the end of the day, the way the characters can actually interact is pretty limited. The amount of time and the amount of things they can do. So just make them sexy first and foremost.
I mean, I feel like no one who sets out to make characters just for the funny interaction potential ever really succeeds in getting them off the ground. So I feel it's kind of a non-issue. Unless you really love a character, you're probably not going to spend all the effort that it takes to get them to testing, let alone main.
Yeah, because like so much of the dialogue you have to write is like sex stuff, and if you have nothing to say about that or don't find them hot, then it's hard.
Yeah, because if you don't have like some level of attraction to your own character, you're not going to be able to like make them in a way that's fully fully appreciative of like what other people find attractive about the character. Like you can make the most niche character in the world as long as you're yourself attracted to them, or you at least understand thoroughly what makes other people attracted to them, so that you can deliver on that. It's fun. It is fun to think of interactions early on, but you shouldn't be entirely basing your character around something like if I make this character, they can have this specific interaction with this other character, and then the other character hasn't been updated in 2 years anyway, and like isn't a franchise mate, isn't even like a crossover, collaboration, associate. It's just something random that you thought up of. So make characters that you yourself have some level of attraction to.
Would you be open to make a separate website to host and archive the podcast? Well, Solitaire, you'd be in charge of that, so.
I'm fine with it as an idea, since having more ways to listen and archive the podcast would always be a good thing. But I have no website coding experience, So it's not going to be me that makes it.
I think having it on YouTube is fine. Like, we don't need another website for it. Though it would be interesting if we could have, like, integration into the SPNatI website itself.
Sometimes I wonder about advertising it on the site itself, but I wonder if that's a bridge too far. You know, most people don't want to hear a bunch of like dudes talking about the characters they made while they're jerking off.
Yeah,
Hell yeah.
And realistically, the podcast is more focused towards dev work rather than what players might be most interested in. So it sort of makes sense to have it a little bit separate.
I mean, you can still find it pretty easily if you look for it. I mean, my answer is like, I guess. I wouldn't be opposed to it for the same reason, but yeah, I don't have any kind of like the money or legal know-how to do it. I know there was like Podbean originally, but that didn't have the audio or the video component. Yeah, I mean, I think it's good to divorce from YouTube and don't keep all your eggs in one basket, because if there's anything we know about YouTube, it's that they could take shit down for any reason at any time, and you'll just be arguing with a bot. So I think it's good to have
got it
some
all
kind of
backed up.
contingency plan. What?
I've got it all backed up.
I hope so. But yeah, I mean, it's good to think about. Maybe we will think about that at some point. Solly, next question.
Which SPNatI character belongs in a jar?
Navi.
Rainbow Dash.
I feel legally obligated to answer Rainbow Dash.
Also Moski.
Moski's like full size, though.
It's a big jar. You still have to fill it up with cum, though. I actually do have a little bit of a... I do have like a 3-inch, 4-inch tall figure of Meia, as well as Jura and some others, but I have no interest of filling up, of drowning her in a jar full of cum. I'm doing that in digital form. What is the jar bucket ratio? Yeah. We have the classic cum bucket metaphor, but no jars.
Are we done with the jar question?
Yeah.
We all know you, the three of you, feel nothing but the absolute most respect, love, and admiration for the server's greatest and most handsomest dev, Karbol. So please, share your thoughts on the matter! Exclamation mark.
He's cool. I like him. I'm glad that he's been less scarce lately. Hope you're doing all right down in a nightmare upside down land. Hope your wife and child are doing all right as well. As well as your more important children, which is your SPNatI characters. We should target more. They should kiss.
So who's Karbol again? Because I don't know any Karbol. I only know the SPNatI dev Maximo Cosetti. Now that guy makes some really good characters. Polly, Stalking, Solar Flare, Zoe. But if you search for Karbol, you don't really get any results. So I don't think this Karbol guy even exists.
Yeah, I don't think he's made anything yet. Dunno, really.
I do want to talk to Momo some more.
Please, Karbol, respond to my Zeke Pandoria targets, I beg you. Please. Please. Please! No, you didn't. That line didn't have anything for Zeke and Pandy. No, Karbol is a... The dev formerly known as Karbol. Cool dude. Says some weird comments sometimes. Writes great characters. That's about it.
Okay. Have you thought of / support the idea of a character and player dual forfeit? If so, how would you go about it? And which character would you personally like to see interact this way?
That's an epilogue. What you're thinking of is an epilogue. Reimu should get an epilogue. I should do that at some point.
Yeah, like that's the sort of thing you see for epilogues. There's some people on the subreddit who are like, why do you get so many character dual forfeits but nothing with the player? Because it would look like shit, and you wouldn't be able to opt in or out of it easily. People just don't understand that the kind of game people don't understand the kind of game that this is and the kind of game that this isn't.
I've gone on record saying I'm not a big fan of epilogues, but that literally is the point of epilogues, is to give you some one-on-one time with the character and to fuck them. Also, I mean, did they even think about what would that even look like? Would they just like cover the screen as they're fucking you? Like, and how would it even work? And like, how would you control it? Like, who would it be with? Like, what if there were multiple at the same time? And like, so Karbol asked in chat, didn't Spnanon actually do this with Revi? No, I actually did not. I removed it from Revi. Some guy on one of the past 4chan threads, one of the more recent ones that weren't made by me, he actually complained about how I removed that. Here's the thing. Oh, he said, like, I hope he kills himself. Whoever the devil.
Jesus.
And it's like, he's a fucking retard, whoever said that. He called me a faggot, so I can call him a retard. Fuck that guy. You know what I removed? It was her fucking... She was masturbating, okay? She was like, 10, 6, 8 feet away from you. The same as everybody else. Doing her masturbation poses. Talking like she was fucking you. Even though she was very clearly not fucking you. And it was supposed to be hot somehow, instead of looking incredibly pathetic for her to talk about doing something that she's clearly not doing. Like, so what I changed that, I changed that to her like just dirty talking you really hard, which is actually goes along with what she was doing. And then I gave her a fucking epilogue where you actually fuck her. But apparently that's not good enough. You got to put it in the fucking game where she's just pretending to. Dumbass. Oh, I also, this never got very far, but when I was making Fubuki from One Punch Man, I had the idea of like giving her a pose where she just like kind of covertly is suggested to be like getting you off a little bit, like tickling your balls or whatever with her psychic powers. And like the idea was you could just ignore her doing that or pretend she's doing something else if you weren't into that. But yeah, that never really got off the ground. So anyone with psychic powers, you feel free to use that idea.
What is your favorite meme?
People will ask me the most insane things like, why is there smoke coming out of your oven, Nord? And I'm like, first off, actually, that isn't smoke, that's steam. Steam from the steamed hams we're having. Steamed hams. Yeah, the brain rot for those edits of 22 short films about Springfield.
You did seem genuinely excited when I sent you the script for steamed buns.
Yeah.
A lot of memes on the internet, especially in, I don't want to say recent times, but maybe like, early 2010s to beyond, or like, but a lot of memes today are like mean-spirited. They're just like, Wojak and Chad shit. They're trying to like spin some kind of crypto-fascist bullshit on you. Or like, just generally being like misleading and mean, or like making fun of people you never met, or just stereotyping people. So a lot of memes kind of suck. My favorite meme, one that I absolutely adore and have a personal story with, is the Watch for Rolling Rocks video, Super Mario 64, the 12 hours parallel universes stuff. In this video, I'll be explaining exactly what I do to collect Watch for Rolling Rocks and 0.5 A presses. That shit. Because if you okay, well, like first, like all the reasons it's like it's so genuine, right? It's just like a guy talking about like this old retro video game. He knows it so fucking well. He knows it better than the devs, and he's just like he's absolutely going ham with like the detail. And it's so genuine. It's positive. It's relatable because like yeah, we all we love digging into old video games and stuff like that. And it's got he's clearly enjoying what he's doing. And it has like it's got layers to it. Is the thing. It's like it has its own lingo, right? It's got the half A press thing. It's got the sitcom rival with TJ Henry Yoshi. It's got like scuttlebugs. It's got PUs. It's got QPUs and quarter step alignments. and hyper speed walking and 12 hours and scuttlebug raising, and it just like keeps getting crazier as the video goes on. So, and like it's got a legacy to it still. So just like great source material, and there's a lot you can do with it. And I had a personal story with it because like if you check the Know Your Meme page for that video, it shows like a link to like a 4chan thread on V, where like it was like the original post, and it was and you know, like the reaction to that and how everybody went crazy for it. But I was literally there on V that night when that video blew up on V and got people talking. And I actually was in an earlier thread than that. And I know that's not the first time it was posted. It was like a couple minutes before in a different thread. Someone posted and it was just like Mario and the link, and that was it. And people went insane for that fucking video. And I was there that night, like eating dinner, when I was like, what the fuck is this? This is awesome. And all the edits that started coming out. It was great. Love that video.
I like sort of older memes as well. You can go back to like the super old memes like All Your Base or Numa Numa, some super old shit like that. Those are always fun. There's also plenty of Toho memes. Things like the Moko meme a day things, the emoting Moko.
Oh, my sadness very big, that shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And apparently there's a Know Your Meme page for Reimu's armpits. So make of that what you will.
Hex also posted in chat, Bane posting. That's a great one as well. I mean, kind of for the same reason, right? It's, I mean, it is making fun of the scene, but at least it's like the layers to it. You know, you can get a whole wiki out of that. You know, the Masquetta Man and Pavel and bringing friends and the Wreckage Brother. That's another great one.
Yeah.
A current topical one I want to say is a circle and the triangle factory. How queer! I must report this to my supervisor post haste. That's a good one. That's a good template meme.
That is good.
I guess we do in circles now. Characters that you've met through SPNatI and checked their source because of it.
I want to say Jolene or Jotaro, kind of, but not really. I thought they were kind of interesting, but I didn't really check out JoJo because of them in SPNatI. They're not exactly the best work this game has to offer. I would like to watch Clannad at some point. Again, just because it's something a little bit different from what I usually watch, and I have quite enjoyed Nagisa and Sonoko as shown. Characters haven't really convinced me to check out source material because that's just not the way I check stuff out. It can give me a push, though, to check out something that I was kind of already interested in.
I would say Machikado Mazoku, which is the anime Shamiko is from. I did like her SPNatI incarnation enough that it gave me the push to watch that anime, which I really enjoyed. I guess Takatoshi to an extent, because I was familiar with 13 Sentinels before Takatoshi was released. I was interested in it, but I didn't actually play it until after Takatoshi was released. But I guess you could include it because it did help push me more towards playing 13 Sentinels when maybe I could have been pushed to something else theoretically. And I also saw the Ladybug and Cat Noir movie on Netflix. I haven't watched the television series proper, just the one Netflix movie. Those are the only ones I can think of. Namasp says the movie was better.
Oh, I'd also like to watch Panty and Stocking at some point. I think that'd be up my alley.
I think you'd enjoy it a lot. The only one I can say that I picked up and saw to completion is Promare because of Harris. I don't think there's really anything I've tried and stuck with all the way through specifically because of SPNatI. Like, because of Mori and Sweetheart, I tried Omori, put a few hours into it. Because of Meia and Jura, I gave Vandred the 3-episode trial. Was decent. It just didn't click with me the same way it would have if I'd like seen it years ago, if you get me.
It's all good.
I could see immediately like why you were interested in it.
I mean, if you've seen a lot of anime, it's like, yeah, you're probably not going to get much out of it. It was literally like the first anime I watched like all the way through. So yeah, it meant a lot to me.
I wonder if I've driven anybody to play Kingdom Hearts. God help them.
Okay, next question. Ever fapped to SPNatI? If so, when? If not, why?
A few times, but not super often and not recently. I think I said this on maybe the last live cast, but a lot of the time when I'm playing SPNatI, there's a lot of, I guess it's for playtesting either my characters or another person's characters. So I'm not really in the horny mindset so much as I'm in the sort of looking at things sort of critically and analytically mindset. So it's sort of hard to swap out of that mindset.
Similar answer for me, where it's like the obvious answer is yes. Usually with characters that aren't my own, because as you say, when you're playing with your own character, a lot of it very quickly becomes the frustration of, damn it, they repeated that line, I've got to go add another one in. Damn it, that pose doesn't look quite right, I've got to go fix it. And it sort of kills the mood. But, you know, like, yeah, using the game for its intended purpose, why not? Just not, like, super frequently.
I mean, I've gone on record for similar questions in that I find this question to be patently ridiculous and preposterous. It is a porn game. Don't Zoomers fucking jerk off? Is that not a thing that they do anymore? Are they afraid? Do they think it's like a porn addiction they're going to get if they jerk off ever? Like, you know, when I was on the internet in like 2009, 2010, the only people like, you know, pushing this shit were like weirdo Jesus freaks. And now they've like co-opted like Nazis and they're doing it instead. But yeah, like it's okay to jerk off. You're not going to die. I actually have the opposite. I mean, there are a lot of characters I like and I think have good sex appeal. It's just that I find myself like playing it more, for testing purposes than anything else, or to give critical feedback. So yeah, I don't end up masturbating very much. I used to not like playing with my characters very much, but ever since I updated their art into something I genuinely enjoy looking at, like that was the whole point of the art update, was to make it something that I love, that I personally enjoy looking at. So yeah, I totally enjoy their poses now, all that good stuff. I mean, you think I made all those butt poses to foster rich character interactions? No, it's like it's stare at her asshole, and I'm loving it.
Apples or oranges?
I think I prefer apples.
Well, if you ever played Earthbound, the answer is definitely apples. Also, apples are just healthy. Oranges kill people, if you've ever seen the Godfather movies. So stay away from oranges. Apple, you know, an apple a day will keep the doctor away, but an orange a day will have the Corleone family coming for you. That being said, orange juice clears compared to apple juice. So we're just talking the full fruits. It's got to be apples.
Yeah, I agree. Apples, you don't have to peel them like you do oranges. You can either eat them whole or cut them up. It's just easier to eat apples, and they taste good too.
X says fuck bananas in chat. You can do that. I love bananas. Not for that reason, though.
You can fuck a banana if you try.
Nord?
Panty or stocking.
Well, I haven't seen Panty and Stocking yet, but it's my understanding that Panty is into hot guys and Stocking is into like weird, ugly, fat guys that fart and are like horrifically ugly. So I'm gonna hope that Panty is the one that's more into me. And also, I like her body type as well. She's perky and leggy and slender, so I'm gonna go with her. I like Panty.
I would say Stocking because she's more curvy and soft and cuddly. She's also bisexual, so maybe you could get into a threesome with her.
Bananas have awful texture. You're supposed to peel them first, Max.
I prefer stocking greatly.
How come?
I just like her personality a fair bit more. And, like, not really... Panty's just a bitch in general. Stalking feels a lot more agreeable. Or not agreeable, like... Hard to conceptualize why. So I'm just gonna say I like her design better.
You know, we're gonna get to this later, but being bitchy actually kind of turns me on a little.
Go watch Panty and Stalking with Garter Belt and make your decision.
Okay. I have to finish Star Trek first, though. All right, next question. Feet or armpits? Well, I think I know Solitaire's answer.
Well, even if I wasn't the armpit guy, because I made Reimu, feet are gross. I don't like feet at all. So, armpits all the way, if I had to make a choice between the two.
I'm gonna go with armpit, but I really don't prefer either.
Armpits are sweaty and warm. Feet are kind of dirty and weird. It's kind of subtle for me. I know Solitaire is the armpit guy, but my girls do not have the most covered armpits in the world themselves. You know, even Meia with the bodysuit, you can see the outline of her armpit. I think that's pretty much it. You know, there are a lot of fetishes, like weird fetishes that like I don't share, but I at least kind of get why you would be into that. Feet, honestly, just seem so dumb to me. Like, they just seem like the least sexual body part of all. They're just like taking abuse all day. They're like heavy and weird, like oddly shaped and asymmetrical. I don't get it. They're so awkward to like try to like have a foot job. It's just weird.
None of us want to be feet guys.
No.
What is your favorite character to play against?
Very difficult to narrow this down, because I like playing with a variety of characters to keep things fresh. Some of the ones that appear on my tables most frequently are ones like Jura and Barnett, Wikipedia, Umatora. Momo is a new favorite of mine. A lot of the characters in general that I play with avoid ENF and generally like just enjoy the game themselves. So I could literally like go down like a good third of the roster and it would like be like, yeah, I'll play with them occasionally.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of my favorites. I mean, there's so many that I could list that you just got to get more specific with the kind of question because, I mean, I've named a lot of them already from like different source media. I think the preset table mates that Meia and Jura have bring out some of the best in them. You know, so I'm gonna throw a special shout out to Nagatoro, Cheryl and Robin for Jura, and then Mitama, Aqua Kingdom Hearts, and then Galatea for Meia. Thanks also for the shout out, Nord.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's just so many good characters. I'd rather you ask me specifically about them. That's what the whole podcast is structured around.
Yeah, most characters these days are all really good. So I don't really have like a single table regular that I put into all of my games, unless you count Miko, since I'm always playtesting her these days. But I will second what Nord said. I like Meia and Jura. They always have something to say. Sucrose, Shamiko, Zeke and Panty, and Kyoko Toshino, I've added to a number of my recent games sort of as throw-ins, since they're all good ads. But I think you really can't go wrong with pretty much anyone in the top half or top 2/3 of the roster.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoy playing with Meia and Jura as well. A lot more than I used to. I used to barely be able to look at them. Nord, next question. A very interesting philosophical conundrum.
Would you rather have infinite bacon but no games, or infinite games but no games?
Fascinating, isn't it? Strange philosophical underpinnings to this one. Perhaps serendipity. I think they might have meant to say infinite games but no bacon. But instead what we're left with is, what does it mean to have infinite games but no games? Is that like the PS5? Or PS3 for the boomers out there? It's hard for me as well, because I don't really like bacon all that much. It's okay, but I don't really enjoy it. Or it's not something I'd seek out to like order at a sandwich place or whatever. Or like with a breakfast. I guess I'd have to go with bacon, because infinite games with no games isn't anything, but infinite bacon with no games is at least something.
Infinite games but no games, isn't that just what we have now? With an infinitely expanding Steam library and no time to play them all.
40,000 games and nothing to play.
So true.
I'm not particularly into bacon, so I don't need infinite amounts of it. I'd rather take the games.
Next question,
Next
please.
question is, okay, let's see. Do you sponsor characters? How do you choose which characters to sponsor?
I haven't sponsored characters as much since I became a mod, mostly because sponsoring a character means I can't QA them, and that can be a problem if it becomes too hard to find someone to QA a character. And I don't want to leave anyone high and dry. So at this point, if I sponsor someone, it's entirely because I think they've got the makings to be an all-time great character, but they just need like a little push to get them there. So to use an example, the characters I've most recently, or that come to mind that I've most recently sponsored, are Shamiko, Nadeshko, and Zeke and Pandoria, who at the time were all really good, but had some obvious flaws that prevented them from being in that upper echelon when they were going to sponsorship.
Yeah, it's very much the same for me, where like I'm a bit more hands-off with sponsorship now. I only really give it if I think it's necessary. The characters I choose to sponsor are ones that I usually have a personal investment in as well. So like, if I see a character that like I love, but there's some aspect of them that isn't living up to what it could be, that's when I go in with a really detailed sponsorship. Otherwise, I only really give it if I think a character truly needs it, and it's hard for anyone to articulate it, but I've already got the idea in my head of how to explain it, you know?
I'm a big fan of it when like randos on the subreddit get involved. They usually don't write very good sponsorships, but it's at least, engagement on their part, which I think is valuable. So I usually write sponsors. I mean, not a whole lot, but I do it sometimes for two reasons. Either I feel like they deserve more than what they're getting, more attention, like Yai and Sophia, for example, recently, or Lysithia was another one. Like they just weren't getting, like they were just been sitting there for weeks with 2-3 sponsors, and it was just like, come on, they should have more. Or I've interacted with them a lot, and I feel like they have a lot of promise. Or like I want to flex a little bit. I've tested them on the podcast, and I've noticed something I don't like them kneeling for their forfeit. So I'll just flex the ability to make them change that. Darkness was a recent example of doing that.
Why is Chazz tagged as medium penis when he clearly has a small one?
Maybe we should get Hex's opinion.
Yeah, this is not a question for us.
What if you were born and like your parents, like the doctors approach your parents like, I'm sorry, he's tagged with small penis?
Hex says he declines the question and will review this tomorrow.
Wow.
Nor did you have an answer?
No, my answer is Tag Master deals with it.
Not my problem.
I mean, SPNatI sizes, this is discourse, right? SPNatI, like, dick sizes and to a certain extent, boob sizes are kind of scuffed anyway in terms of, like, what's considered realistic. I mean, just looking at this, like...
This question was posted to us on the 8th of the 16th of the 8th, so last month. Damn you, American time stamp. And since then, in, like, the past few weeks, I've come to the conclusion... Well, I'm sounding a lot snarkier than I intended, but, like, I don't have a grasp on what makes the size categories anymore. So that's entirely up to Hex.
I mean, it looks pretty normal to me. I know it doesn't look that big when he's hard, but like it goes past his navel. So like, a lot of dicks don't do that. So it's honestly like he's pretty, Stop looking at weird bad porn where it's like the size of their forearm. It looks
a lot
fine.
of it is also to do with like dealing with a lot of the earlier like male characters had like disgustingly large ones because of one or two specific devs. So we're trying to like course correct from that. Years worth of bad karma.
Don't try to deflect the mask. We know it's you. Dr. Damasp and Mr. Krang. I'll agree with Hex though. Chazz is a little lacking in girth. Go ahead, Nord.
Who is a character for whatever reason you don't want to see being added?
Barnett Solo.
Oh god.
Legit, like, besides the obvious mechanical challenges of, like, why would you do this? She's also just, like, a poor choice. For the reasons you see in Jura. She's not very sociable. She's too familiar in terms of, like, where she is in life and what kind of person she is and what she does and what her interests are, compared to Meia and Jura. She's too similar in that regard. And, she doesn't function without Jura any more than Jura functions without her, which is not well. So don't do that. Also, more fourth wall breakers because I'm not impressed. I don't like them. They're dumb.
So there really aren't many characters that I don't want to see added, besides obviously like rule breaking characters. There is one I can think of is there are like some franchise mates who, if added, I'd have to write around with my characters. For instance, there's Hatano Kokoro from Toho, who would require some writing around with Miko, since she's sort of like a semi-adopted daughter type thing, but it's still doable. It probably would be a pain in the ass, though, if anyone added Kotaro from Zombieland Saga. I'm changing my answer to that one. Don't do that one.
I will gladly help anybody that wants to make a character from Xenoblade Chronicles, the entire franchise. Anyone, except for Fiora. Please, for the love of God, don't make Fiora ever. Please, please, please.
How come? Who is she?
For context, Fiora is Dunban's younger sister. And on top of that, there's a lot of story shenanigans that would make adding her into the game a walking spoiler, no matter how you slice it. Unless you write her at a point in time where she's entirely incompatible with how Dunban has already been written anyway, and how characters in general from JRPG should probably be written mid or post JRPG adventure. So yeah, please never add his little sister.
Nord, would you like to help me with my next character, Solo Pandoria?
That would be... I would welcome that more than I would welcome fucking Fiora. Because, like, Solo Pandoria, the main thing is you are going to be suffering because you're not going to have any characterization to work with without Zeke there. So good luck.
Alright, next question. Does having a crush on a character you're working on help or hinder development on them?
It definitely helps, for sure. Having a crush lets you understand the appeal of the character and know how that sort of sexual appeal can appeal to others. So I think by being attracted to a character and knowing what makes them attractive helps let you showcase the attractiveness of that character.
Definitely. Having a crush on them is specific wording, but it's like, yeah, you'd want to be attracted to your own character. Ties in with our earlier answers.
Obviously, yeah, you do want to fuck them, which is not quite the same thing as having a crush on them. But yeah, I mean, you do. I mean, with the amount that you have to write for them and really get into their head, it helps to have that emotional appeal of a crush as well. You know, you do want there to be some kind of romance to it. I mean, that's what's held me back from a lot of characters I otherwise at least kind of like, is that, you know, you jerk off to them and it's like, I don't like her that much. You know, how much time do I really want to devote to that? Always jerk off before deciding which character you want to make. See if you still like her after that. Also helps for real life dating. I mean, I've never felt as if it's like a hindrance to have a crush on Meia or whatever. It's just this little happiness switch in my brain that I can just think about her and I feel better. And I just like her. You know, it's never like, I've never had some kind of psychotic episode where like I can't leave the house because Meia exists or whatever. And I don't even dream about her that much. Like I don't think about her when I don't have to. Like it's never been an issue. I can still live my life. I think your love is just weak. I mean, if it is causing problems for you, then, to see a psychiatrist or whatever, but I don't think it's inherently a problem.
Why don't art updates happen more often? There seems to be a lot more artists than writers right now. And the least any of the more underutilized characters could use is a facelift, to be frank.
Art updates still take a lot of effort because it's never just an art update these days. Like, you can't just pluck a character from offline, give them an art update and call it a day. You still have to go through sponsorship and all that, and if there are dialogue issues, those are going to like be required as like things that you fix. A lot of characters at the bottom of the like main roster could maybe do with art updates, but then the problem is if you're not the original artist, that will also come with you may have to do dialogue updates as well, and you also if you don't do dialogue updates at all, you're also restricted of okay, all of your new poses have to fit exactly with the existing poses and dialogue. And generally, I think they don't happen as much as you would expect them to, because it's just more fun to make a new character than it is to try and fix up an old one. As we saw with the most recent Masquerade, where the majority of teams were about making a new character rather than reworking an existing one.
Hex posted in chat, it's yeah, it's kind of legit. It's kind of a creative outlet for me working on Meia. I mean, I do think that helps to have like a creative outlet if this character really just can't leave your head at all. I think that can help you work through your feelings a lot more. And it's nothing to be ashamed of as long as you do something productive with it. But to answer the question at hand, I mean, I agree with the sentiment behind it. I mean, we describe writing as marriage sometimes, but I mean, with an art update, there's really no reason you have to become some kind of permanent owner. It's fine to just like work on their model and posing for like a couple weeks and then just be done with it, and it's still an objective improvement, even if you don't do much else with it or adapt the writing in any way. Like it's not a bad thing. It's just a matter of do you only want to be attached to that character for so long? Which, I mean, it's totally fine if you do. So like, yeah, go for it. I think it's something that's kind of commendable in a way.
I'm not a Kisake artist, but not really. I don't really do Kisake art for fun. But I always just assume that nobody really wants to put in the effort for a character that's not getting active dialogue updates, because characters that aren't getting dialogue updates aren't getting played as much and not talked about as much. And so any effort you put into trying to improve their artwork would probably mostly go to waste. So I can understand not wanting to put in that effort.
I really hope that like the sponsorship system isn't stopping anybody. Like if it is explicitly just art, like I think you should be sponsored based on like just art. But if we're ready to move on to the next question, it's just for Solitaire. So.
Nor do you need to ask me the question.
I'm beaming it directly into your brain. What is the most annoying thing MisterSolitaire has had to find for or edit into a podcast episode?
So now is the airing of grievances against our hosts. Nord, your crime is that you always leave your desk fan going while you talk.
I can hear it now.
Yeah. And the question is, why do you even need a fan? Isn't it like 70 degrees Fahrenheit in Northern Ireland? Like tops? Also, you keep hammering away at your mechanical typewriter of a keyboard while you're talking, and that gets picked up on the podcast, and there's no way for me to edit that out. That's just in there. Now for Spnanon, my grievances are, because you don't use headphones when recording, the mic picks up everything that everyone else in the call says. Now, that's not usually a problem in the main track because Discord has the automatic noise canceling that filters it out. However, if you're talking at the same time as somebody else, it causes you to get super muffled and muted. And if I go to your backup track, then I have the echo of whoever's talking at the same time as you.
I did not know that. I'm surprised you've never brought that up before.
I've absolutely brought that up before.
Okay. Well, I don't own headphones, but I can do that for you at some point. Sorry. I think it's me reading the next question, right? Which is specifically for Nord. Nord, for each odd your characters, if you could wave a wand and have a dual forfeit with a character in the game who is not yours, who would you pick and why? For each of, that's a lot of characters.
Okay, so for the next 2 hours, we're going to be discussing this. The answer to that is I don't really have any that are like that. A lot of it comes down to like, okay, I know the conceit of this question is, aha, magic wand does all of the posing and the complicated character editor shenanigans for it for me. Even so, like all of the dual forfeits I have plunked into the game, like I don't think I need that many more. So like, I don't know. I control both those characters, fuck. How about one between Rosa and Hilbert, but that's also contingent on Hilbert coming back? You know what? Why not?
What would they do? Is she just like blowing him on the battle subway?
Yeah. Yeah.
Hilda Wen. Oh, Hilda Wen is that freaky chick. Spnanon, which male characters on test or live are most exciting to Meia and Jura? So this is a weird question. Because, yeah, like, kind of famously, for characters that are supposed to be, like, intensely interested in men, not only have they never really hit it off especially well with any particular male character, not, like, really super sexually intense, but, like, I mean, they've never had any, I mean, no male characters ever, like, super specifically hit on them very hard, either. And, I mean, part of the reason is that, like, hitting on them is legit hard. I know, like, even famed, like, Casanova, you know, Namask with Leon and stuff, he just kind of floundered. He tried all his pickup lines, and they just bounced off of Meia's stone face. I mean, the problem is, like, they're interested in men, but they're so distrustful of them as well. And they just need, it's like, okay, let me dispel one thing, first of all. You're not going to be fucking them. I'm sorry, but you're not gonna. It's not gonna happen. Okay, there's not gonna be any dual forfeits with a male character ever. The problem is, like, yeah, they would need a lot of time to get to know them, and they might have a certain, like, sexual desire, but they're not going to act on it that quickly because they just don't have enough trust associated with them, especially a complete stranger, except for the player, of course. But even then, like, with the epilogue scripts I'm writing, like, you get to know them a lot better in a certain way. They need, you know, they need, like, action. They need, at no point do they really, like, hit it off with someone in, like, just like a conversational way, and that's it, and that's enough for them. They need action. They need to prove that you're useful somehow, or that you have, like, a certain gumption to you. For both of them, and it's just like that. You can't really do that in SPNatI is the problem. So they can find you interesting, like, just on a physical level, but, like, an emotional one where you know, really exciting in that way. You're never really gonna get through to them. So it's not gonna happen just with words. That being said, just talking about, like, who's exciting to them, I think I've narrowed it down in a lot of ways. That, like, I think Meia. This is kind of the reverse of what I used to write for them, but I think Meia is a lot more into, like, masculine aesthetics. I think she's someone who's never really fit in a certain way for, like, you know, in her all-female society. And I think having someone to contrast with, you know, she's always filled, like, a very masculine role in that society. And I think having, you know, a man, someone who's so masculine compared to her, really makes her, it both excites her in a masculine sense, in like an active sense, and also makes her feel very feminine by comparison. And I think that's something that excites her a lot. So, you know, a masculine, manly man type, or at least someone who acts that way, would go a long way. Someone who's, like, serious and maybe has a bit of spunk to him. But yeah. Jura, on the other hand, I think she's, you know, she fits in a lot better with her home society. I think she prefers feminine aesthetics in a lot of ways. She says that she wants clean, or she doesn't want any guys that are dirty or ugly. So I think something smaller and more feminine and just kind of, like, refined would go a long way as well. And she also is kind of into the serious types as well.
So what you're saying is, even with Pandoria vouching for him, the Zekinator is going to strike out no matter what he tries?
I mean, neither of them really hate Zeke. But he's like a big guy, you know, and he is kind of like, he's really out there for them. You know, it's a lot to process all at once. But I always thought, like, Jotaro, for example, if Jotaro was more developed, I think he could have some success with probably either of them. Not that he ever would care, but just as an example, you know. So Jura would be a little bit more into, like, the pretty boys, but definitely they would both like sort of the serious types. Jura likes being protected and all that. But as for, I mean, you can come to your own conclusions on, like, the actual, like, who on the actual cast But I think that's the problem, is that if you just try to hit on them the way you normally would, it's just not going to work because they're not normal women. They're weird and they don't trust you on any level. They just kind of want to see you naked and they'll come to their own conclusions. They're very active characters. They don't like just being approached like that. You just kind of got to roll with them. Anyway, I think that's long enough.
What other hobbies do you have outside of SPNatI?
Taken to painting my Warhammer minis again. I should post them sometime. I like playing video games. I tend to play a game, see if it's moddable, immediately start tinkering with it to mod it in some minor way. Strategy games are a lot of fun for me. Apart from that, no time for hobbies. What army? Space Marines. Basic bitch Space Marines.
I like video games, but I didn't even think of that when thinking about answers to this question. I mean, I don't play them nearly as much as I did when I was a kid. It's mostly just old ones that are pretty simple to get through. It's not to say I don't play new ones, but they're usually retro games that I have not yet played. So that's just new to me. Because of SPNatI, I've gotten a lot more into like creative writing and drawing, and that's something I really want to use this as a springboard for once I eventually get bored with SPNatI. So taking that in more legit directions that you can post in other places. And as a hobby, I'm also learning Japanese. I've always found linguistics and other cultures pretty interesting. So yeah, JSL as well. I've been doing that for about 2 years.
I like cooking. I should maybe post some pictures of food or recipes of stuff I make. But yeah, cooking and playing video games as well, I guess.
Solitaire, having edited the podcast for years, what are some tips for guests to be their best and not challenging to edit? What are your peeves on editing Nord and Spnanon? We don't need to repeat your earlier answer, do we?
I already answered the pet peeves, but for guests, I have to say, please come prepared. Come with notes. Hopefully notes that are actually relevant to the topic at hand and not 8 pages of something completely different. But the more prepared you are, the better. And on the opposite spectrum, it's obvious when some guests aren't as prepared as they should be, and that always drags down the podcast episode. So please, if you ever get chosen to be a guest, come prepared.
A lot of being prepared is just preparing to talk about stuff other than your own content. Because we usually invite guests on to talk about their own character, but make sure you have enough to talk about other people's characters.
Yeah, this isn't really about editing, but it always sucks when I ask the guest what they think and they talk for like 10 seconds. Like, yeah, they were good. Can you give me a little more? I've decided that Nord will be rating this. Do it.
For everyone, do you consider the less rigid resource structure to have been a success rather than having dedicated rows of characters?
Less rigid resource. So they mean like fuzzy sorting, basically.
I assume so.
Yeah.
No, fuzzy sucks. I hate fuzzy resource. I mean, I don't get me wrong, Arian, I love you. You have a lot of good ideas. You do a lot of great work on the character editor, but fuzzy sorting is a total miss for me. I don't understand why people like it. Basically, what it did is first force devs into like utter voter apathy because they no longer cared about the resort at all. Sure, everyone hates it, but everyone hated it, but everyone still hates it, and now nobody cares enough to even vote for it or vote in it. Boy, is that a topical issue. You should really go out and vote. Unless you're a Trumper, then kill yourself. But Democrats, please go out and vote. Let's see. Okay, yeah. As for fuzzy, like it's literally just. I mean, when a resort happens, it's like you have that panic of like oh, how'd my character wind up? Where did they wind up? With fuzzy sorting, every time I load up the game, it's like a mini resort. It's like, oh god, where did she end up? And because I'm always like in incognito mode and shit, like I don't have any favorites, so I literally can never find anybody when I load up the game. I just have to sort by like recently updated or something that has some merit, something that makes some logical sense. So yeah, I don't like it at all.
I'm fine. I think fuzzy sorting is fine. I think anything that stops people from obsessing over the least worst sorting system that anyone's come up with is a win for me. I'm fine if no one cares about it, because that's better than people caring too much over a way to sort characters. And I think people are used to imprecise algorithms serving them up, like serving up what they think people will like best. So people who don't expect to see their own characters at the very top, they're fine with the way that characters are presented to them when they open up the site.
I think fuzzy sorting is an unfortunately necessary evil, because people can't help themselves from obsessing over their resort placements. I know I speak from a position of privilege where my characters are like middle of the roster at worst. So it's like, it really is like, if people didn't get upset that their character was in the lower half of the roster, fuzzy sorting wouldn't be necessary. But this is a whole other topic, and I really don't want to spend 10 minutes on this, or an hour on this, or however many amount of time on this. But we need a different sorting system that is not vote-based, but we cannot agree on one. We probably never will agree on one unless we do something like just release order, but with a curated like 10, 15, 20 highlighted characters of the week, like they do in MOBAs and shit. And like every character gets their time in a spotlight, and then we randomize the seed for the highlighting every year or something. So it's like, oh, for this year, your character's going to be featured in May for a week. That's the only other alternative like system I could see. Is alphabetical sort, too many people oppose that. Recently updated, too many people oppose that, etc., etc. So fuzzy
Just
sorting,
because people oppose it doesn't mean it's wrong.
fuzzy sorting's a necessary evil until people stop obsessing over the resort. But people obsess over the resort anyway.
Yeah, that's my point. Like, it didn't fix the problem. Anyway, like, I just do recently updated with like a cooldown. Just give it like a couple weeks so you can't spam it.
If you want to have your character be at the top of the roster, pick the most popular character on R34 or something.
Tifa.
We'll
Tifa's probably gonna take over the game when she gets to main. Like, she was like already getting comparable play stats when she was on testing. Which, you know, fair. Queen. I'm okay with that. Next question. Fuck, marry, kill for the other two's characters. For Nord, you only need to pick 3. There's another question that asked fuck, marry, kill before the whole roster. We thought that was a little too broad, so we just did this one instead.
Wed, bed, behead.
Yeah, so, yeah, go ahead, Salter.
Well, I guess you can fuck Jura and Barnett because they're hot. Meia seems like a good girl who will look after you for the long term, so I can marry her. And then I'll kill Ryuko because nobody remembers that Spnanon made her anyway. As for Nord, I'd absolutely fuck Zeke and Pandoria in a threesome. I'd marry Petra because she seems like a good girl, and as the princess of Brigid, she could take care of me pretty well. And then I'm going to kill Aqua Konosuba because she's useless.
I would sleep with Reimu, marry Miko, kill with a question mark Saki Nakaido. I don't know if she can be killed again. I would sleep with Jura and Barnett, marry Ryoko, and then kill Videl and bring her back with the Dragon Balls and apologize and explain the circumstances that I was forced into this by a thought experiment.
Let's see. So yeah, my question or my answer for Solitaire's girls is really predicated on what counts as killing Saki. But I guess it's not, because I don't really want to fuck her anyway. I would if she were alive, but I don't want her like gross maggoty pussy. I'm sorry. I know you've headcanoned it to not be the case, but I have a hard time imagining. It just seems like cope. So I'm gonna have to say kill Saki because she's already dead. Fuck Reimu. Probably when she's drunk, because she'd probably be more fun like that. And marry Miko. I think that would give me a lot of like political benefits. I can be her male concubine when she needs an heir. For Nord, yeah, like Petra's a babe. Like I'd probably have to go with her. Or failing that, maybe like Aqua Grunt. You know, she's got some spice to her. She's a bitch. I like that. Mary, if Lux counts as your character. She does do some certain things to me, but Mia would make a very good wife, as would like Aqua, Kingdom Hearts. I like both of those. I think they do well. Could be the mother of your kids. I'd be fine with killing Magma Grunt because she's stupid. We could do with less. How dare you? What?
How dare you?
I mean, you know, if you're gonna kill somebody, you should kill someone stupid.
That's it. That's the final straw. I refuse to talk to you for the next 5 to 10 minutes.
Okay.
Well, we take a quick break.
Also, if you don't want to kill Magma Grunt for being stupid, you could kill her because she's an eco-terrorist. Actually, come to think of it, Namasp, the whole like story of Ruby and Sapphire, like Team Aqua and Team Magma, that was like based on like a thing in Japan about like there was a conflict between like land development and like I guess people trying to preserve the environment, which is like, you know, Team Magma is supposed to be like land development. So actually, yeah, killing Team Magma. If you're on the Team Aqua side, you're more in favor of nature. Solly, next question.
What's the best way to measure how much people thirst over a character? Amount of images in Rule 34? Dojins? How many memes are made about them?
How many emoji reactions you get when you post an image of them. Fewer things give a man power so much as that.
Is that the answer you're going with?
Yes.
Okay. I mean, I believe it's a holistic kind of thing. You know, obviously there's the amount of content, but there's also, I'd say, like the legacy. How enduring is their popularity? You know, like I don't put a whole lot of stock in like the waifu of the month because you don't really know if that's gonna last, and especially with like the Patreon money train and the AI machine that's out there now, it really muddies the waters in terms of like, you know, how much reach is this character really going to get in the long term. And that's why I like a character like Tifa, you know, like that's like I'm okay with her being the queen, right? Because that's like she's had the staying power, and of course she's gotten new like official material over time as well. But you know, she's got the content, she's got the legacy, you know, she's conventionally attractive and appeals to, you know, a wide audience. So yeah, I think that's important. Yeah, it's holistic. You got to have that legacy.
Yeah, I'd say quality over quantity. There's plenty of not safe for work artists out there that just gravitate towards whatever's popular rather than what they themselves actually like. But someone dedicated enough to make high quality smut of their waifu or husbando, like even if the waifu isn't super popular or they faded out of the spotlight, I think an artist like that has far more passion for that character and therefore would be much thirstier.
Thoughts on the latest SPNatI tech?
I'm not sure exactly what they mean by that. I'm going to assume it's character settings, unless there's a better answer.
There's a couple of things it could mean. It could mean character settings. It can mean like pose maker stuff, like the clipping, which is now fixed. You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
What else is new? Layer skipping.
I mean, I made use of that already. That's nice. But I mean, character settings. I mean, it's kind of nice if it's relevant, or if there's really like two very equal things that you want to put out there. But for me personally, meh. You know, I think it's better to just like deliver one very intentional, very designed experience. And if they want like a different kind of character, they just play with a different kind of character. We have a roster of over 200. You can find someone who fits. I mean, I mean, I see this game as a character showcase. We're not meant to like cater to the whims of like the player. Because again, if the player wants their whims catered to, just pick a different character who fits them better. Like, this is supposed to be what the character is like.
Yeah, I'm with that too. I don't really care about most of the sort of expanded CE logic type things. Things like character settings, short game mode, some of the fancier extended variables. I guess if people want them and like them, that's fine, but I don't really have much interest in those. One thing, probably the most important new tech to the Miko rework since I first started doing that like a year ago is probably the pose set update. That helps me and saves me a lot of time. So I'd say that's probably my favorite new SPNatI tech from like the past year or so. Though I do also have to shout out all of the super nice Kisake quality of life editions that the people in charge of upkeeping that have added. Things like using Control-Shift-Click to immediately go to a specific ribbon or image attachment has been very, very useful to me. The ability to adjust each individual piece of an arm and move it around or make it invisible, that also is very much appreciated. So all those neat Kisake things I really, really adore, and thank you all who have added that to Kisake.
Yeah, arm and leg sliders and like
Technically, it is Kisake.
head, body, arm toggles and sliders. Those were all like, I want to say added within the last year or year and a half, and like I don't know how we posed characters without them. Like being able to have a character like raise their hand to actually meet their chin, or like just barely stretch out their arms a little bit more to make a pose work, or giving characters bigger arms, hands, and feet in general. Such great quality of life additions to Kisake. With character settings, I just want to add that like a lot of it is like optional content you'd want to put behind it, but that's like, yeah, you like, yeah, I want the player to be able to decide if they want to see this or not, because it's a bit extra to what the character delivers. So I hope people make use of them now that the requirements are lowered.
Okay, next question. What's something small that a lot of people put in their SPNatI characters that irritates you?
Is saying not pubes, too on the nose.
I wouldn't call that small.
Honestly, not so much. There isn't really any content that irritates me. Usually it's lack of content that I rub up against, such as not explaining who they are, not having opinions on things like I touched on earlier, or not engaging with the game sexually enough. Usually it's the little things that people miss that is more impactful, I feel, than, anything they may add.
Yeah, for me, it's not so much things people add, but things people don't add, like with custom breasts being the norm now, not adding any like movement or squish to them. It takes away from like what makes the chest appealing in that regard. Something they do add that I guess does irritate me. I'm not even sure how to explain it, but like when a character... Oh, here, I can't remember the word, info dumping. The opposite problem, which is literally spending the entire game info dumping and feeling like they don't care about the game at all, insofar as like targeting other characters and being a bit flirty in that. Be careful not to go between the two extremes. You want to aim between the two extremes that are character tells you nothing about themselves and their setting versus character is a walking encyclopedia for their setting and will tell you their entire character arc.
Kind of seems like something you say would do.
I'm trying to work it in organically, okay?
Okay. For me, it'd probably be finishing animations. Orgasm animations. Don't like it. Never have. I understand that's difficult and it's hot for a lot of people. Can't stand it. Especially, like, if you're going to do it, at least have it freeze frame. Like, have the final frame be them, like, actually in the act of coming. Like, that's what I hated about early SPNatIs, because whenever someone came, it would actually auto-advance straight past it. And I had to argue to not do that so you could actually look at it. And now we're going right back to it because it's a finishing animation. I mean, at least you can, like, replay it. But, yeah, that's annoying. Don't do that.
I think that's an interesting point, actually. Yeah.
How would you explain SPNatI to someone you just started dating?
Just started dating? I wouldn't.
Was that
like? I guess I would get a vibe check and then be like, "Hey, I put a lot of my creative energy into this online game. You interested?" And then I show it, and then see what happens.
Do you masturbate to cartoon characters?
Would you like to?
I mean, yeah, it's definitely not going to pass the vibe check with most girls. I wouldn't call myself compatible with your average, like, normie girl on fucking TikTok or whatever. But she definitely get the signs ahead of time, just for my interests. Art, doujinshi, how I don't leave the house. I'm a fucking weeb. So, I mean, she'd have to be at least okay with that. She doesn't need to... I never felt as if she needs to share my interests, but she's got to be at least like, okay, that's what his deal is. I would just say it's a good opportunity for creative growth, as an artist. And that's why I've kept at it for so long. That's why I'll say to you as well. Like, it's just, I mean, it's a good scaffolded approach to, like, art and writing and dialogue, because you got to do it all. But it's you have a framework. You have source material and reference. It's nice. Also, I just have to explain to her that I'm a giant pervert, and it's not going to stop in the 2D world either. I don't know what you think this relationship is going to be, but I'm a giant pervert, so that's the road we're going down.
Yeah, I'd just be as vague as possible. If I refer to it at all, I'd just say it's some online creative stuff, some art and writing thing that I'm doing, and then also tell them that, no, you cannot see my work.
No, you'd never explain it?
Maybe after we got married.
Ooh.
If I had a prenup.
No, man, I don't think you can wait. I think you got to just go for it. Because, like, that's who you are.
What's your type? What's your type? Are you seeing anyone?
Yeah, speaking of which, yeah, it's basically... I mean, it's kind of what you see in SPNatI and in my tastes and in the characters I've made. They tend to be tall, or at least on the taller side, I'm not, like, into, like, super, like, 8-foot tall muscle dummy mommies. I just mean, like, tall for a woman. I prefer to be, like, 5'6", 5'8", 5'9", something like that. I like, she's got some leg to her. I am still taller than that, for the record. So I like them, slender, thin, leggy, kind of modest, perky tits. They don't have to be huge. I don't mind something smaller. Short hair. That's always good because you can doesn't get in the way in their back. I know these are all just, like, physical traits. I mean, I don't really demand a whole lot from other people in general. So I don't. I mean, personality-wise, like, I've always felt like you can just do your own thing. I don't feel like we need to, like, share all of our interests or do everything together if we can just enjoy each other's company. But admitting before what I said, like, yeah, honestly, maybe this is going against type, especially for someone who doesn't want to be nagged too much, but when a girl's kind of bitchy, it kind of turns me on a little, to be honest. Not like a huge bitch, like constantly going off. Like, it'd be nice if she was actually bitching about something legit, where I can be like, yeah, I kind of see your point, because that shows like intelligence and conviction. I appreciate that. I respect that in a partner. Yeah, I picture myself as just being like, she's bitchy and I'm kind of lackadaisical, and can kind of calm her down a little bit. Take it easy, babe. Am I actually seeing anyone? No, because this hypothetical girl that I'm describing could do better than me. And also, I hate people in general and don't like spending a whole lot of time with them.
Yeah, I'm pretty much in the same boat. I don't have any super specific types, I guess. So I'm going to say my type is Reimu. And yes, I'm seeing her.
I like people who are very straightforward, take care of themselves, care about others. I'm attracted to it like a wide net of different traits, but like what I really care about, and this is the lame answer, is honestly personality.
I mean, have you seen ass?
Yes. I can appreciate a good behind. But like that's not a deal breaker for me. I mean, like, I've got no ass.
Yeah. Personality wise, it's okay. Yeah. Bitchy is good as long as it's legit grievances and directed away from me. I don't want her bitching at me. It's okay if she bitches about other things. Anyway, would you prefer a very good blowjob or anal?
Blowjob. I don't care that much about blowjobs, but I'm not into anal or butt stuff at all.
My answer's the same, really. Not much to it, really.
I explained this last time. I'm not actually like super into anal or anything. I'm pretty neutral on it. I like buttholes, but actual like anal butt stuff, I'm just like, whatever. It's not a big deal. Having said that, I'd still go with anal because BJs in general, I mean, they just don't really turn me on that much. There's nothing like a really loving, caring, and performative blowjob. See, I get that. It's just, I don't know. It just doesn't turn me on very much. I can't say much else about it. Anal at least kind of resembles more, traditional penetrative sex, and it's intimate, or at least it should be, with the proper preparation. And yeah. Having said that, blowjob's completely naked. Now we're talking. So that's my suggestion. Blowjobs go a long way if she's fully naked, but of course anal also does that. My point is she should be completely naked. Next question.
For the mods, Dojo, you have any policy regrets?
Dojo. I can't really say I have any regrets. Generally speaking, I'm able to come to a compromise if I need to, I would say.
I'm not a mod. They've stopped asking. They know I won't accept.
The thing is, I know that I'm more of like the, get it done ASAP cowboy dev mod around here, much to the dismay of everyone else who allowed me to join their team quite foolishly. But I would like to hope that my more like progressive, like do the radical changes first and then sort it out later approach is at least appreciated as a break from like being so concerned about not breaking the game that nothing ever gets done. Would you agree with that, Solitaire, or is this the part where you denounce me publicly?
No, I don't have any policy regrets.
Oh yeah, I'm not a mod, but I'll take this time to mention actually. Yeah, regarding the blowjob and anal thing, one day these revamped epilogues will be finished, and then you'll know exactly what I'm into.
Oh boy. If you could have one character either have their author return or someone with equal or better talent pick up, which character? Oh boy.
I thought Vidal's author was honestly pretty good for the time, and I think if he put his mind to it, he could do a good job in this climate as well. He was a 4chan user; he'd probably have to monitor what he said, but I think he can make it work. Also, I'd really like Beta to come back. Let's get Nanako finished. Probably my favorite OC.
So to have their author return, would saying Revi be too mean?
Do you mean OSG or do you mean me?
I mean you, Spnanon.
Sorry. There's just nothing left to do with her.
I get it. Otherwise, though, for having their author return, I'd probably say La Rochelle or Turandot, even though Dorian is here in chat with us. Though I think probably the character that needs to be picked up and revived the most would be Tharja, even though that pick is entirely dependent on the or better talent portion of the question, because I think she's still a popular character that would be good if done well, but is at the moment just wholly abandoned.
Yeah, I would agree. There's a couple of characters I could point at and say, like, come back and finish them, please. The two I would shout out are Okino from 13 Sentinels and, tip of my tongue, Nagamimi from 7th Dragon Code. I hope Latte's doing okay, because they haven't been around in a long while. And their writing was pretty good, and all their developers just had real life obligations, unfortunately.
Being tied up or doing the tying?
I'd go with either. I'd say switch.
Being tied up, please.
I hate both. I hate all forms of bondage. So I'd go with do the tying, I guess, because I certainly don't want to be tied up. That's the last thing I want, is to not be able to use my arms and legs.
So you would do the tying and then just leave her there and go do something else, is what you're saying?
No. I'd tie her up, explain that I was forced into this by a thought experiment, and then untie her. I'd like her to be able to use her arms and legs.
If you were to meet one of the characters from SPNatI that you wrote or made art for, what would you talk about and why?
Well, the most pertinent answer for me is I would literally want to speak to Rose and just be like, please tell me lore about your world. Please tell me your backstory. Please give me more information. Please. And then I think with the rest of them, it would just be chill to meet them, but she's the one where, like, it's the most, please, I need to speak to the actual character directly to know what's going on.
I'd love to know some stuff about Jura's past. There's very little about her family or anything. I just assume she's an only child by the way she acts. Hex asks in chat, what if she's tied in a way that doesn't impede limbs, like tortoise shell rope stuff? I don't know what that is, but that means she's not completely naked, so I don't like it. So here's the beauty of Meia and Jura, right? So what do you talk about with Meia? Meia doesn't talk. That's the beauty of it. If she did talk, it'd be very easy to explain, because you just explain how your body works and what Earth is like, and she's good. Jura talks to Barnett instead, because she doesn't really she just thinks of you as like a boy toy, and Barnett is her real lover. See, Jura would really annoy me, but she's just like, all of her like annoying girly energy just gets like hoisted onto Barnett, and Barnett likes it. So that gets out of the way. That's the beauty of it.
I'd meet Miko and talk about Miko. Or I'd meet Reimu and talk about sake.
Do you like sake?
Yeah. It's good, even though I can't afford the good expensive stuff, but neither can Reimu, so it's fine.
Where character kyou?
On the main roster.
Wow. What a time to be alive.
What character that has been culled has the most potential for a rework?
So if we're talking specifically about like legacy characters that were online but then moved offline, then I'd probably say female Corrin, because being a Fire Emblem character, she's still popular. And apparently people in Singapore wail on her in the Fire Emblem gotcha game. So bringing her back could get us a lot of new people in from Singapore. If that question, if you expand it to incompletes, though, too, I'd probably say Ganyu or Okino.
I was thinking of characters like my mind occasionally wanders to the original 4 characters, and I just think that like Lilith, Lara, and Zoe could be like really good characters if made today or reworked today. But unfortunately, like the time has passed for those characters to be in like the spotlight of pop culture, at least within this community of ours.
Well, Lilith did just get a movie with a 0% Rotten Tomatoes score.
Yeah.
I interpreted this to mean specifically offline characters, like characters that are not incomplete. For that, I would say, obviously, you gotta go with 7 of 9, right? Pretty much the direct inspiration for Meia, aside from Rei Ayanami. She's even got that's where Meia's headgear comes from, is the little like bit of Borg around a Borg implants around Seven's eye. So I'd love her, stoic space bodysuit girl. And I think she could go for. I'd like to have a Star Trek character to talk to. There's also Uhura, but Uhura has no hope. Shigo, I always really liked Shigo. Again, bodysuit, kind of bitchy, always nice. She even did an early thing where she took covert pictures of people as blackmail, which maybe I don't do anymore, but it was appropriately cartoon villainous. And Zelda, Princess Zelda. I've always liked Zelda, and there's obviously a lot you can do with her because you could pick any one version of her. That one is the Twilight Princess Zelda, but anything would work, and they're all different.
Moving on. If 100% sure nothing would go wrong, would you use rigged avatars as a visual aid in the podcast?
You want us to be VTubers? Got it. Probably no, because then you'd see how bad my posture is.
What does it mean go wrong? Like we dox ourselves by accident, like it breaks and there's a face reveal or something?
Presumably?
I assume going wrong technically, which in my case would mean me having to put in any effort whatsoever.
I don't really see what the point of that would be. Like, how is that a visual aid? That's just like Saitama talking instead of just like a picture of him. Like, what's the difference? It's not really relevant to what we're talking about.
It's not something I want to deal with.
Just because something is a visual doesn't mean it's a visual aid.
Have you ever considered reuniting with a few disbanded members to work on a new character of some sort? It'd be nice and all, what with the amount of years this thing has gone on for and what not.
So the thing is with disbanded members, people that are gone, and you can't contact them, and they're usually gone for good reason. Their skills rarely improve with time if they haven't been working that whole time. So no, not interested.
Yeah, I'm not really all that interested with working with other people. I guess if you need an answer, team up with Joe to make the hairiest lady you could imagine.
Favorite new character to come out of the game in the past year?
I'd say I had to look up who was released in the past year, and I'd say Zeke and Pandoria are my favorites. I've already told Nord all the reasons why, so rather than continue to juice his ego, I'm gonna move it on to him.
There's been a lot of good characters that came out in only 1 year, so it's hard to narrow it down, but I really I'll pick 3. Lysithea, Sophia, and Sanako. Those 3 in particular are really well done. Not the usual type I would go for, but that makes it feel more impactful to me personally. That like I play with them, I adore them, even though they're not muscular tomboys.
Yeah, there's a ton of cute choices, very high quality work here. Nor did you want to say something else?
We never officially started this event for the live cast.
No. Whatever. I don't even know how those work.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's tons of cute choices this year. Very high quality work overall. I mean, yeah, like Lysithia, Yai, I really like, but you mentioned a lot of them already. Zeke and Pandoria are probably the most ambitious, so I have to give you credit for that, and obviously very well executed. So I'm going to choose this time to praise Kyoko Kirigiri as a project because that's someone I didn't praise previously on this live cast. I think she might be the most complete package in terms of like really solid writing and like art that's also pushing the envelope and is like just super high quality and identical to the source material. Nicole couldn't be here, but eventually she'll watch. It's very nice.
Nicole did a great job with what was possibly the worst choice for a first-time dev.
What's your greatest fear? You're free to interpret this in regards to development in general, all of the above, or none of the above.
My greatest fear is memory loss and memory degradation in general.
Well, that is a good one.
I also have a fear of memory loss and memory degradation in general.
I would say just like dying suddenly and pointlessly. Especially in some kind of like, accident or some kind of mass shooting or whatever. Some shit where it's like, it's not even just you that died. You're just a number. It's like, really, my whole life, all my hopes and dreams, that's what it amounted to. That just sucks. Especially, my girls, they'll starve. My work will be left unfinished. And the world will never be wiser. I mean, you won't even know what happened to me. I'll just disappear one day. That's pretty scary. That or getting my dick cut off. That also sucks.
That's all very depressing. I just said my greatest fear was that SPNatI would end before I finished Miko's rework.
Same, but epilogues.
Who's a character you really like but you would never consider making for SPNatI? Hard mode. Must be of a gender you're attracted to and of age or reasonably and conventionally attractive and or able to pass the Harkness test and or not already in the game, etc.
I usually do consider various characters, but it's a lack of material or a lack of, motivation in the end that kind of shuts it down. I don't have a good answer because, what else would really preclude them? Especially if they're, good to go otherwise. I mean, I like Ayla from Chrono Trigger. I even considered her for a while. That's the thing. I do consider them, but I just, what is she even supposed to talk about? She's a cave woman. She doesn't understand what's happening half the time.
Yeah, there's, I'm always thinking of, plenty of characters where I have sort of a passing idea of writing them, but then I realize either I don't love the character that much to put in that work for them, or they've got a voice that really just doesn't jive with me, doesn't come naturally to me at all. I think the biggest one that comes to mind is Yuki Nakato from Haruhi Suzumiya, because she's like a Rei clone on steroids. If you think Meia is quiet and stoic, Yuki is even more so. I could make every line just ... and it would be more in character than anything else I could write. So it'd be incredibly difficult to write her.
For me, there's so many characters and so many franchises I could make, but I deliberately don't want to. And this goes as far back as having made Magma Grunt and then getting Saltmine to write Aqua Grunt for me. And then with me making Meia and Soulheart then writing Jenna. I like the idea that I can make a character from a series, and then at least one other person will make one other character from that series, rather than me having to make everyone. So, like, I'm fully on board for the idea of more Kingdom Hearts characters. Like, there are men and women in Kingdom Hearts that would work so well in this game. Arguably, like, the same or better than Aqua. Aqua just happens to be, like, one of the most viable female characters. But, like, Terra, Lee, Roxas, Sora himself, any of the girls, I can definitely see someone else making them, but I don't want to have a hand in making them myself.
Would you add Donald Duck to SPNatI?
Well, listen, we have to draw the line for power scaling somewhere. We can't just casually add the most powerful mage in Final Fantasy, like, combined canon that easily, okay?
Next question. I think developers can be categorized on a spectrum of horizontal, focusing solely on making new characters or features, to vertical, focusing solely on improving existing characters or features. Where would you place yourself on that spectrum, and do you seek to change that?
Well, I don't think any of our answers to this question will come as a surprise to anyone that knows us.
Yeah.
I'm extremely vertical. I only really care about making my small handful of favorites as perfect as they can be. Nord?
I have come to terms with the fact that I'm just going horizontal. I make all my characters, I give them like 1,500 lines. I give them one of everything. Like, I give them like a full set of banter with at least one other character. I give them like maybe a short epilogue. I give them collectibles. And generally speaking, that's where they're just sort of sitting done until I get inspired to write them again or to do more like in-depth banter with a newer character. But like, I just don't have the like focus to go tall with any one particular character.
If Solitaire is vertical, I'm the fucking Burj Khalifa, baby. I mean, obviously. But honestly, I only like realized it over time. Especially over like that first year of development where I've made like, you know, Revi and Ryuko as well. And I had like I got like 4 characters in a year, and then I just decided, I just felt none of the same drive as I did with Meia and Jura. It just, it felt special to me. It felt like just enough to work with, like source material wise. And they just had like a really nice premise that fit into the game, and there's just so like visual things you could do, so much they could talk about. I don't know. That's just it.
If you could instantly manifest a 3,000 to 4,000 line count franchisemate to one of your characters, what character would you pick and why? What interactions with other characters would you try to do with them?
For some reason, I'm struggling to parse that question. I would love to manifest Xenoblade Chronicles characters in particular, just because the art is a big initial hurdle. Because myself and Onboru have set a high standard for Xenoblade 2 art, and Xenoblade 3 and Xenoblade 1 Definitive Edition are very much the same level of like high detail model. But I would love to just like to give a specific character, I would love to manifest Rex as he appears like in Xenoblade 3 Future Redeemed. Because like Giga Chad Rex gives me like hope, like nothing else.
We're all gonna make it. Well, it kind of depends on what counts as my character and like what actually the point is. Like if Videl counts, and if we're talking about like what do I want to jerk off to, yeah, it'd be like Bulma or Android 18 or like Satsuki Kiryuin from Kill la Kill. But like she's got like a ton of ass poses. I'm more concerned about that than the line count. She's got to have that ass. If none of those counts, I really like Gasconia, the 5'10" muscular, like kind of wisecracking Regisystem chief who like delivers all their weapons shipments in Vandred. Thank you very much, Nord, for making that model. I'll post it in a second if I can find a picture of it. Eventually, she'll appear in epilogues. Writing wise, I think from Vandred Duero, the doctor, the male doctor that they have, would actually make a great choice if someone else wanted to do that. No one has made his model yet, but he's like the mirror image of Meia and Jura. You know, if you made any of their other crewmates, the female ones, they kind of samey. You know, they're kind of in the same position in life, like I said before. But, you know, he's the mirror image. He's a man who's very interested in women, you know, on both like a sexual and a medical level, but he's never met any really. He doesn't know anything about them. And that's what like gave him a lot of zest for life at the start of the series, was getting to treat a patient that he's never seen before. So he'd have a lot of curiosity. He's the most curious out of the three men they have aboard. So he'd be really interested in everybody else and make really good conversation. He's very intelligent.
I think any Toho character would be a good add, I think, to the game. Obviously, rules forbidden characters aside. It's too bad that Team Raisin didn't survive the masquerade, since she would be a good addition. I guess if I had to pick a specific Toho, I would go with the series' second main protagonist, Marisa Kurosame, because not only would she have a lot of fun interactions with Reimu, she could talk to all of the magic users on the roster and try and steal all of their ideas for herself.
Were you born?
Yes, I was born, but Spnanon was made.
I was born.
I was not.
It's me asking next. For Spnanon, Solitaire, and Nord, respectively, how did you first encounter and get into Vandred/Toho/ the 10 dozen source materials you've written characters from?
I originally learned of Toho through all the old meme music videos that came out, like Marissa Stole the Precious Thing or Cherno's Perfect Math Class. And I also kept seeing Toho art on various image boards I frequented and ended up really liking the character designs. So I ended up checking out more art and more fandom works and getting really into it that way.
Spnanon, do you want to go first with Vandred?
Oh boy, making room for you. I mean, I've told this story before. Around 2010, I was like 13, 14. I discovered a Vandred love quest on Newgrounds, which is like a flash game based on Vandred. Again, just a passion project made by one guy. You could choose your different points. You can make yourself an emo. You have to work menial jobs and do weight training. And the way you make Meia fall in love with you is by beating her up, by walking into her room while she's changing. And I actually did not watch Vandred right after that. I just thought, oh, this game's kind of hard and weird. But what I did definitely make mention of was like, okay, well, obviously this Meia girl is the best one, right? Like, obviously she's the real love interest in the show that it's from. 2 years later, in around 2012, I was a freshman in high school, and I checked it out again. I was like, what was that weird game that I played like 2 years ago? And I checked it out. I was like, well, this Meia girl is definitely the best. So then I just looked up, and it was just posted to YouTube. That's how it was back in the day. It's like, oh, I should watch this show. Is this like a porno show? What is this? And then like, it was not a porno show. It's actually remarkably tame in that regard, sort of.
Was it in the format of Vandred Episode 1, Part 1 of 3?
No, you could upload longer videos at that point. But yeah, like it was like the first. I mean, I was aware of anime and anime tropes and like Dragon Ball and stuff, but that was the first anime that I ever just like watched all the way through, like a 26 episode anime. So it introduced me to a lot of those tropes. I was like, whoa, this is pretty cool. I like it. I like space. I like Star Trek. And that was about it. All right, Nord, you're off to the races.
Okay, so plus anime. I read the books as a kid. I reread them as a young adult. Made Rose now that I'm in my like late 20s because I adore the series. I think it's got a unique charm to it.
Wait, before you go any
Pokemon,
further, I forgot to mention Meia is actually not the main love interest in this show. I was very surprised to learn, even though she's still clearly the best. Okay, go.
The chapter that introduces Rose and the later one where there's the hot spring scene is like literally the only physical copies of Plus Anima I had. The rest I read online because I couldn't get it otherwise. So that's why I fixated on her. Pokemon. I got Pokemon Emerald as a kid. It's my first Pokemon game. I watched the Sinnoh anime. Haven't played Sword and Shield onwards, but I played everything up to that. Golden Sun. Got the game as a kid. Watched 100 completion Let's Play after I'd already beaten it myself. I read the gag manga, and now, decades later, it still affects me. Xenoblade. I watched a full playthrough of Xenoblade 1 on the Nintendo Wii. I played 2 onwards on release because I love the series in general, and I've even played Definitive Edition of Xenoblade 1 again. Fire Emblem. Started with Fire Emblem Awakening. I enjoyed the series and its characters a lot. Kingdom Hearts. My first game was 358 over 2 days on the DS, borrowed from a friend. I barely knew anything about the series up to that point. I've only really caught up with everything going on with it in the last couple of years. I love Aqua to bits, and her game is one of the more fun, side games in quotation marks. The story isn't the story isn't that complicated, or I'm in too deep and I have Stockholm Syndrome. Moeru, Card Match Uno. I fell in love with this gag manga, 2-page thing that was then animated, and the animation is what drove me to make him as an April Fool's character. But before April Fool's came around, I was convinced by others to make him legitimately, and it was a lot of fun writing what is basically an OC with a very niche writing prompt. The Sims. I've played all the Sims games. The Sims 1 was possibly my first ever video game, and Bella Goth is an iconic Sim in the fandom because of the mystery around her in The Sims 2. Yu-Gi-Oh! Yu-Gi-Oh! Was one of the few anime that actually aired on British TV where I live. I watched the original Yu-Gi-Oh! I watched all of dubbed 5Ds. Now I'm rewatching it subbed so I could see the final season. But I had known bits and pieces of the final season from clips I'd seen online for years. I've never seen GX to completion because it just never stuck with me, but I respect what I've heard about it. League of Legends. God help me, save me, please. I don't want to go back. You can't make me go back. I don't want it to be support anymore, please. And I think that covers everything.
Oh, wow.
Everything that I've personally written, at least.
No offense to any of you, but why do you do this? Don't you have anything better to do? Again, please, no offense. I'm not a native English speaker.
Do I have anything better to do?
What's wrong?
Probably.
Are you ill? Do you have brain damage?
I probably could be doing something better with my time, but I mean, I'm enjoying my time here.
Basically, my response, what should I be doing? Fucking normie. Should I be diversifying my stock portfolio? Fuck you. I guess I should be having sex, right? That's what I should be doing. I mean, I enjoy it here.
Invest in Helium-1 stocks now.
I mean, I enjoy it, yeah. And I mean, as I said before, it's a good pathway to progress as an artist. It's a good scaffolded experience. I mean, that's the reason I like this so much. It's because it feels like you can, I mean, if you put everything you have into it and really take, your reference material seriously, I think you can legitimately prove as an artist and as a creative. And obviously, you can't do that forever, and I don't plan to. But for now, I want to make my projects the best that they possibly can, and I don't think they're there yet. Honestly, I've seen what passes for normal in this society, and I'm not impressed. And I want no part of it.
Yeah, I just like working on Miku and Reimu. It's fun to me. And really, if I wasn't doing Kisake work, I'd probably be doing something equally painstaking, like building Gundam models, because that's the sort of thing I enjoy doing.
A question from Arndress. Which one of the characters written by Arndress do you like the best? You can't say a character chosen by another host.
Well,
Why do you have to make it difficult?
he hasn't written that many characters, I'm going to have to go with Nagisa. Like I said before, I mean, I like Nagisa and I like Sonico especially, and I think there's a big power gap between those two and the others that he's written and contributed to. Not that they're bad. I think he's really improved over time with this like consistent writing that he's writing effort that he's put forth over the last like 2 years. I think they have really solid, really unique voices right now, and they work well together, obviously, and they work well with other characters. And again, they don't feel like bland moe blobs. They do a really nice job standing out without being too assertive.
Yeah, I would say Nagisa because she's very cute, very well written. Arndress obviously put a lot of passion into her. And I really like the targets that she has with Reimu. I think they work together very well. And they're both sort of from the same era of the internet. Even though Reimu is still popular to this day, they do have that sort of crossover potential. And it's okay if I say Nagisa, even though Spnanon already went, because I'm not a host, I'm the editor. Big difference.
Mine is Sanako. I really appreciate having another more like mature character on the roster. It's just that like the other characters I'm seeing for Arndress are either, you know, Panty, Mei, Nagisa, and Moon, and the rest are all... there's also Nugi-chan. But I'll be honest, Nugi-chan isn't really my type. But like, I think Sanako was one of his best...
Nugi-chan is awaiting a court date.
Oh. I think Sanako is one of his best and most fully realized characters, so I like her a lot.
Okay, well, if you're still around, hang in there. We're at the last, I think, 5 questions. 5, 6 questions. We're approaching the end here, so hang in there. If you were to ever retire, who would you want to care for your characters?
If I retire, it means I'm dead, and you are all getting buried with me as my forever servants for the afterlife.
There's a couple of people I've been thinking of, like, who should I pass ownership to my characters to if I can't do this anymore, or even if I just decide to retire properly. But like, the hardest one to find someone for is Gloria, because I don't know if anyone would be able to like capture just Scottish vernacular in general. Not to say that I've done like a job so good that no one else can replicate it, but just that like it's difficult to like strike the balance of Scottish but also understandable. Apart from that, the only difficult one would be Aqua Kingdom Hearts. Of like, yes, someone has to understand the Kingdom Hearts story and care about Aqua enough.
I'd have to agree with Solitaire that like if I don't post in a week and I haven't said explicitly that like I'm satisfied with Meia and Jura, I have died. Anything can happen in a day, but in a week's time, I could make my way to like an internet cafe or a library or something. But the point is, my only real requirement is like someone who's seen Vandred, which I know there's not a lot of them, but they do exist on the server. And it's not like it's hard to watch. It's just a 26-episode anime. I think Phonebox would do a good job, especially on like the art side. And he's seen Vandred, he knows it. Just Kidding, I think has seen it. And obviously he's a good writer and artist. You know, he's the double threat or the triple threat with posing. I know he knows Vandred Love Quest. I know that. So I think he could do a good job. I enjoy bantering with his characters. Corgi, if he were around, I think he's seen Vandred. And Mike as well. I like geeking out to Mike in DMs about like Vandred lore. If he reined in his own personal takes on it a little bit, like I think he has interesting ideas. They don't always fit with canon, but I think he's interesting at least. So try to rein himself in a little bit. So those may like triumvirate or so of heirs. Yeah, just read whatever targets hopefully I can get those scripts to you before I die, before I pass on my deathbed. But just read the most recent target.
Okay, I've decided that if I die unexpectedly, I am burdening my mans with every single one of my characters, and he is legally obligated to keep all of them updated at least once a year. Enjoy, my mans.
Look at the most recent lines I've written and just try to copy those for both of them.
From the top of your head, what furry character would you like to see in SPNatI? Whether because you personally want them, or because you know it'd be good for the game?
I put a bit of thought into this because I knew I would struggle on the spot, but like some possible candidates would be Anka or Isabelle from Animal Crossing. Maybe Carmelita from Sly Cooper. And I just put a Star Fox character with a question mark because I don't know that many Star Fox characters, but I know like Crystal. People like Crystal, I suppose. There's plenty of viable candidates.
Yeah, there's a bunch of overlap in our answers, actually. But here's the thing, right? So I would suggest Blaze the Cat, or any kind of Sonic girl to go along with Rouge. But here's the thing: Blaze the Cat's not furry. I know because I like Blaze the Cat, and I'm not a furry. Sonic girls are free. It's the same with Crystal. Like, Crystal's great. Crystal's hot, but Crystal's not a furry. Crystal's free. I mean, she is furry, but she's free. Everyone's furry for Crystal. Same with Anka. Anka's hit the mainstream. It's okay. It's okay to be furry for Anka. So I guess any of those would be good choices because they're free. They're furry, but they're free.
I can't think of any furry characters off the top of my head. Sorry.
Okay, is it me next?
Yes.
And it's a question for me. Nord, which character would you say is objectively your best, and which one do you love the most? I'm pointing at you with a gun. Answer the question. Okay, geez. I'm gonna say Zeke and Pandoria are probably my best. It's a tie between them and Aqua from Kingdom Hearts. Because I think, with everything settled with her now, Aqua is like the best possible version of herself. Like I couldn't have really trusted anyone else to make her right. So I feel like I've hopefully done a good enough, job with her. And I even, play a couple of games with my own character now and then. And I enjoy having her at my own table. With Zeke and Pandoria, though, I feel like they're one of my best characters because I've fully realized the potential of a proper 2-in-1 character. Our glorious overlord Solitaire here has already heaped a bunch of praise on me for them, so thanks for that. And I'm glad to have earned all of the praise they have gotten. I don't have major regrets with any of them, to be honest, but I think those two are like the best.
All right, we've made it to the final question. Posted about half an hour before this started. So basically, right before it closed. We're combining this with another question that's very similar. What would you like? What would something you do if the podcast had more budget? So this question is: if you had all the resources in the world, what would you like to do for the 100th podcast? Which, of course, is coming up soon.
I would do it the same as ever, except we would hire a paid editor, and the paid editor would be me, and I would be paid an exorbitant salary to edit the 100th podcast.
Who is paying you?
The person who asked the question, since they gave us all the resources in the world.
I can't really think of anything special for the 100th that wouldn't be a massive pain to arrange or to be worth it. Like having multiple people on as guest, that would just lead to a lot of over each other or stuff like that. Well, maybe having like 2 guests would be fun.
We used to do that, but it made the podcast episodes like 4 hours long.
Yeah. Maybe like a look back on the podcast history in general, because full disclosure, there's a lot of podcast episodes I haven't listened to from like before the Masp took over. I listened to most of the Namas Bearer podcast.
I mean, it's been going since 2018, man. In some form. It's kind of crazy to look back on. I mean, if we had all the resources in the world, just in general, I mean, I think it'd be nice to add some kind of background music, very light, so it doesn't, drown us out, like either like lounge music or something related to like the source material. But of course, that's probably a copyright nightmare, even if it's quiet. You'd use some more visuals. I mean, this is just if Solitaire had infinite time to do this. More visuals and little gags, just like if someone sneezed, like their profile picture could shake or something like that. Or just if you think back to like early like Game Grumps or something, all like if something really funny happened, they'd like play it back or embellish it in some way. But, I mean, most of the time that's not really necessary. It's good to have the chill vibe. Something that is doable for the 100th episode that we will be doing is we're going to bring back Namasp. Surprise! Namasp will be our guest, former co-host, now guest, for episodes 99 and 100. Talk about Juno. So look forward to that. Yes, he's coming back. Last live cast sent him off, and this one's bringing him back because just when he thought he was out, we pull him back in. Namasp is in chat at the moment. I don't know why he's acting surprised. He asked to come on again. I guess he didn't know it was going to be episode 100. He's not coming back as co-host, just guest. All right, you've made your bed and you can lie in it in that regard. But we can welcome you back as a guest. I think I can think of no better guest to come on for episode 100.
Till you're 90.
But yeah, that's going to do it. That goes through every question. All 83 of them. This was a mammoth. It might be the longest individual episode of any podcast, or any individual podcast episode. I think there was one that was like 4.5 hours, and I think that's gone beyond that. So.
Oh yeah. Well, who knows? After I cut out all the
dead air.
air.
Maybe not. It'll be close though. With like SPNatI Adventure 2 battle. Actually, no. I think there was an episode that went over 5 hours in the Joe era, because I don't know what the hell was happening then. I don't know how we did that.
Do you want to give us an outro, Spnanon?
All right. So once again, I just want to say thank you to everyone for coming out. Thanks everyone in chat for sticking with us for this very, very long AMA. But I think it was quite interesting. Mostly game-related stuff, not too personal, but that's all good. It's probably the way it should be anyway. Thanks for coming on, as always, Nord. Thanks to all the guests throughout all the episodes of the podcast. Here's to many more years of SPNatI and the podcast and everything else that keeps us together, mostly masturbating. And of course, thank you very much to our ever dutiful and sometimes accusatory editor, MisterSolitaire. It's not like we don't deserve it. Thanks once again, man, for coming on. Really appreciate it. Take care, everybody. Play Meia and Jura from the anime Vandrin.
Works for me.